Opioid Stabilization Fund to the Opioid Settlement Revolving Fund. This item was referred to the Committee on Finance on February 10th. Ms. Arpke, and those who are here, please state your name and enter it for the record and your position, please.
Emily Arpke, CFO.
Tess Curran, Director of Health and Human Services.
Kara Hum, opioid coordinator.
Thank you. Councilor Encini, Councilor Raposo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies, good evening. I had sent a few questions that you were able to give some detailed responses to. If you ladies could allude on to the questions and some of the answers, that would be appreciated. And I'll yield to them, please.
Sure. First of all, just want to apologize for any confusion that Ms. Curran and I's absence caused the council last meeting. So we're hoping that by answering these questions and being here tonight, this will make more sense. So just, would you like us to just go through
Please.
this? Sure. So the first question that Councilor Raposo had was regarding the federal funding being cut and how much does it cost to run the FAST team as it is today. So we had met, or I had met a couple months ago with Ms. Fontaine and Mr. Dion from CDA regarding just to try to ascertain this. And so the breakdown before you, they're saying that it would take $492,200 per year. I mean, I feel like this is pretty self-explanatory the way I've broken it down. The loss of federal funding obviously has been impactful, and so they had originally had a CARA grant that was a 4-year grant, so every year they would be renewed for up to 4 years, and that grant totaled the 1.9 million and change. So they did apply for a new SAMHSA grant, which we were sort of waiting on. We thought we were going to hear, I think it was November and then December, and eventually that was not awarded. And so they do have the Department of Justice Protect and Connect grant, which is a 3-year grant, and that will total $550,000. Oh, sorry. So the CARE, yeah. You can jump in at any
Sure.
point.
So the CAR grant actually replaced the Protect and Connect grant.
Thank you.
But there was a requirement for the CAR grant to have a match, that $240,000 match, which is where some of that opioid settlement fund money came into play.
And so they're still waiting to hear about they've applied for a $350,000 grant through the Department of Mental Health through the state of Massachusetts. But what I would just note is that, so during the course of the FAST team, we made, normally this is opioid settlement, like any grant, we do it as a reimbursement. And so we do that reimbursement quarterly. And so what was happening with the exception of the FAST team, because of the need to be paid, because they have so many people on payroll. And so we did a transfer to CDA to be able to directly pay, as they do their other employees, out of that funding source, because they were losing all of this other grant that usually kept them afloat until we could reimburse. And so, excuse me, so just so you understand that we still have $176,000 and change of a balance with CDA. So what we're trying to do is draw down on that and extend, before we have sort of approved a greater amount of money, we want to try to draw that and stretch that into year 2 as much as we can. And then we built in that cushion, which was I felt like when I watched the meeting, I know there was a sense of obscuring information, and I apologize if my letter did that. That was not my intention. It was really just to have this balance of funds like we did this past year, where when FAST team had these emerging needs that are unexpected because of the type of street outreach work that they do, there's just things that come up, and have to come down here all the time to do that and piecemeal it. So I was trying to kind of wait for like a bigger request, and that was my intention. So I just wanted to explain that. So the amount going to the FAST team is actually not the 71,958. It was actually when we broke it down, it was actually 72,178 and 73 cents to be specific. So I apologize for that. And then through the opioid funds in general, what does this funding support? And so I think an important part to understand is that nothing in this transfer request of $750,000 is nothing new, in the sense of the budget's increased in 2 projects, which I'll explain, but all of this is stuff that was approved. These grants were approved by the advisory committee and then approved by prior council. And so we didn't take it upon us to say, to go out for another RFP or to create any other new funding opportunities. These are all things that we felt you very much supported and were important, and that they showed the data to support them again. And a lot of this was done in Tessa's absence when she was on maternity leave. I started meeting kind of with these people to collect this data and to figure out, where they stood at the year 1 end. And so, so enhancement without encampment, we had used, so I think all of these are pretty self-explanatory. Enhancement without encampment started at 100,000. It was increased to 200. That is the remaining balance. I have 2 invoices that I will be paying shortly, and that will wrap up enhancement without encampment. The Fall River Public School health education curriculum, that was the only one that has actually fully expended theirs at the end of year 1. The advocacy fund, we extended theirs into the next year to just expend their remaining balance. The STAR Rapid Access to Care, they have, the numbers are here before you. They've expended $369,593 of $467.5. That program was not renewed at this time, just because we have the funds in the stabilization fund, but we didn't feel like right now this was something that we could support with the changes in the federal funding to us. We felt like a lot of that had to be internally used and utilized by the FAST team. The Fall River Trail program had only spent a small portion of theirs, so we extended them another year with no new budget. The Fall River, the FAST team started with the 92,000, which, as you can see, was because they were getting this 4-year CARE grant, which was funding them. And when we saw that started to trickle off, we increased that amount. And then, as I said, the transfer to community development, but they still have the 176,000, and we're really hoping to stretch that out as much as we can. The opioid 7 was one that we had, so let me just step back for a second. And so for continuity of programming, we really did need to, when I was meeting with them, we needed to say, hey, yes, we will support this, but we do need to make a formal funding request to the council. And so, for instance, that program, there was a personnel, Sarah LaPointe, who is an integral part of Steph Perry's team, and without her, without us saying, yes, we will fund this, her job and position would have been lost. And so I waited as long as I could to say, yes, we will fund this, because we thought that was her role was gonna become part of the SAMHSA grant that we were waiting for. And so South Coast, we would not have renewed that if the SAMHSA grant had come through, because we would have funded Sarah, Ms. LaPointe, through that. And then lastly, the Fall River Public School PASS program. That was a program that originally was the $238,780. They still have only expended $136, but we said that so that they could prepare for their next year, that we would fund the $211,000. They are an organization that has, they're showing a lot of sustainability, so they've brought in 2 other schools, Atlantis Charter, and I always pronounce it wrong, but is it Argosy? Okay. I've spoken with Atlantis Charter School, and like they're very happy with participating in this program, and she's hoping to then sort of start bringing in like maybe other communities who will pay. So this is, to us, this was something that if we could give them a little bit more funding, they're really showing sustainability on their own moving forward. And so that would wrap up that question. I'm sorry, this is longer than I thought. What other services are being funded? So this transfer is going to, will account for that increase during the year from the 100,000 to the 200,000 for the enhancement without encampment, and the FAST teams increases that were necessary during the year. As
Ms.
well.
I think the council does have this
Ye-
full response
Yes,
to your
yeah.
emails, and I think you've highlighted it pretty
Okay.
well to Councilor in seat 8's point. Are you satisfied with the overview, Councilor?
I am, and my only follow-up question was what I asked a few weeks ago was that there should be no concern of the FAST team not being funded at this time. We're good.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor in seat 1, Councilor Kadim.
Thank you. So my, two questions. So first, I fully support this, but all the programs that you stated obviously meet the guidelines that are required for the opioid settlement stuff?
Yes.
Right, perfect, okay. And then, so my only other question is just the revolving account, and maybe, Emily, you might have said this last week, but can you remind me, why is there a deficit in the opioid revolving fund? Because it sounds like there's money in CDA, so.
Yeah, so because we transferred it technically into that other fund, so what you're seeing in that fund was that it's been expended, at that point in time, it's considered it expended, even though we just kind of transferred it into the other fund. The other reason is that, we had made a transfer to, something that I think right before she got to it, we hadn't funded any administration of this program and of this funding, in prior requests to fund it. So when her salary was, a portion of her salary was added into it, it is what actually put the fund into a deficit. So we let the programs continue as they were and as we had funding in there for them, but because we hadn't factored in and it was done, you know, with an entry being made, it
Yeah.
kind of immediately put it into a deficit at that point in time, and that was only
In
done.
in 26?
It was done at the end of October, yeah, the end of October.
21st,
20.
Okay, all right.
2025.
So this
Okay.
fiscal
So it
year.
wasn't a carryover from
No,
25
not
to
at all.
26? Okay.
Not at all. And it wasn't from any of these programs. All of the programs kind of were expected and planned. It was really just that administration piece that put it over,
And I
at
caught
that
that
point in
when I
time.
was actually doing my like federal reporting, I was noticing that they were drawing down. So I
Right.
just, so it actually should have started in June of 2024. when I
So I guess, are you looking for, so does the 750 still cover you in terms of what you were looking for to give you enough cushion for the programs? Or should we add, you know, I guess roughly 46,000 to cover the deficit and then additional administrative costs?
I think what we'll have left after we draw down on everything is the 72,178. And I
Yeah.
think at this time, that is,
It includes it,
That
the
inc-
administration and the
Okay.
salary
So you're
portion.
good.
yeah,
You're
I think
good.
that is fine. I do think that was asked of us, I think by you, do we have enough? I think it's always nice to have more, but I think that, I know the council, you guys want that transparency and that
Right.
ability for us to come down and say, hey, do you guys support this? And so I feel very comfortable that this is enough for right now.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And I also just don't want to have a situation where, you know, there's a need that arises that we can cover this as opposed to waiting for us to come down, that you have that flexibility with the funding. So it's the only reason. So either way, if you want to come down later, if you need additional money, then, you know, as one counselor, I would support that. So,
Thank you.
and thank you for all the work. I know it's a lot going into this, so thank you. I yield.
Thank you. Councilor in seat 2, Councilor Kamara.
Just real quick, when you say, Carol, we have enough for right now, what does that mean? This week, next week?
No,
2
I
months
mean,
from
like,
now?
we believe for
rest of the year?
year 2.
Okay.
You know, I think that.
So to finish
and
out
I
the
don't
year,
wanna
we're
put
good.
Words in your mouth,
yeah.
but, I mean, I think that with 176,000 still in the FAST team, with the FAST team with CDA, I mean, I've spoken with Mike Dion several times, and he believes that that's gonna carry them.
Throughout the
for-
year.
Yep, and then with
Okay.
the 72,000, and I don't, you know, we've extended these other grants.
That's fine, I just didn't know, want to make sure I know what right now means.
Yeah, as long as there's no big snowstorm coming, that like is gonna put us off another, you know, so we're good, I think we're good.
Thank you, appreciate it. With that, I yield, Council.
Thank you. Anything further from the council? Council in seat 4, Council Vice President Dion.
When does year 2 end?
So, it was in November, I think it's November.
Yes, So there, a number of the contracts kind of started at varying times, but I believe it was, most of them were at November with a few in starting in
Correct.
January.
Yep.
So there's two,
Next
like the
fiscal year.
EWE, OPD one, that was an earlier contract than the trial program, so, trail program. So it's either a November start date or a January 1 start date.
Okay. That's it. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you. Councilor in seat 3, Councilor Canuel.
Is there a date that funds have to be expended by, similar to opera? No.
No, nope.
Do we have longer-term plans for the remainder of the balance, the 1.1 million?
So it's actually, it's 1.8 right now in the stabilization fund, and I just believe we just got word today that we're getting, more, like, not substantial, but still like a couple disbursements of $50,000. It's creating and building an interest in that stabilization account as well. So, I mean, we haven't taught, you can take.
Yeah, and so essentially, we will be receiving through 2038, $8 million. So that's what we're anticipating to receive in total as a community. So what we had done at the kind of earlier stages of this was doing a strategic plan, a public hearing with community buy-in, as well as a community survey to try and see what the greatest needs were here in the community, and then allocating those dollars through the RFP process to target the most where the greatest need was in the community. So that's kind of where we've been at right now, trying to, again, hit those programs that we found were going to be most impactful for the community. So prevention, improving treatment and recovery options. And so I think as the landscape shifts, then our targets will have to shift, and we'll have to reevaluate that with more community input, more strategic planning and things like that as we go on throughout the process. Right now, certainly with the change in landscape of federal funding and of grant funding throughout the Commonwealth, we're trying to keep some of these funds to support the city, departments such as the FAST team. So it's gonna look different. What we were forecasting, even in the fall, looks a lot different now, just because of grant dollars being so tight and us wanting to really make, evidence-based and dedicating these funds to things that are really impactful, which, as we all know, is the FAST team is really making an impact in terms of boots on the ground, and the work that they're doing is just changing lives every day.
Thank you. I yield.
Anything further from the council on this item?
Motion for full council?
No, I
Council in seat
I
4,
just want to
Council
make
Vice
one
President.
statement. I just want to thank you for coming down. Basically, that's what we were looking for. I mean, there was nothing nefarious or anything. It was just, I don't know what it is. I don't understand it. I need somebody to help me out and tell me. That's all it was. And I really appreciate that you both came down and clarified it as well as you did. Thank you.
Thank you
With
for your
that, I yield.
patience.
Thank you, Council Vice President. A motion to refer to full council is made by Councilor Reposo, seconded by Councilor Peckham. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
you.
Nice to see you.
Next item on our agenda is a 5-year financial forecast. That item was referred to this committee on February 10th, 2026. The council's had this in their possession for a little bit now. Ms. Arpke, very brief overview, if you can, please?
Yep.
Before I acknowledge our council.
So the 5-year financial forecast is submitted each year as required by ordinance. The annual submission is to help ensure that council has regular visibility of the city's long-term financial outlook and assumptions that support all of our financial planning. Because it relies on broad assumptions about revenues and expenditures, in economic conditions several years into the future, it's intentionally high level and somewhat generalized when viewed on its own. As with any multi-year projection, the goal is not to project exact amounts that will be 5-year outcomes, but to show what the city's likely financial trajectory is under current assumptions so that potential challenges can be addressed and identified early. The purpose of the forecast is to help ensure that decisions made today are considered in the context of the long-term financial position. It becomes most meaningful when it is considered alongside specific policy decisions or items such as the capital improvement plan and the annual operating budget. So the 5-year financial forecast was intended to be kind of heard the same night as the capital improvement plan. and kind of talked about in conjunction with it, but that will now be at the next meeting. So next month, I will also come down to talk about the 5-year, about the financial condition for the FY '27 budget. That will also be supported by this document at that point in time. Going forward, the goal would be to update this forecast at least twice a year, once in the fall to support an updated 5-year financial capital improvement plan, and then once in the spring as we prepare for each budget season. I'm happy to answer any questions tonight about the forecast, the assumptions behind it, or how you'd like to see it utilized or presented moving forward, but I don't necessarily have a very specific presentation to review the document on its own tonight.
Thank you. And just to be clear, you're talking at a future meeting, the 5-year financial forecast.
So, yeah, so next meeting, we have the 5-year capital improvement plan. And so this document kind of is part of how that's built. It is got those same assumptions kind of baked into it, and looking at that 5-year forecast in conjunction with those items impacting it and how it's feasible or why it is or not feasible is what makes this tool, this document kind of make sense. The same thing with looking at the budget each year, and how those impacts change as the actuals kind of adjust. So looking at it on its own, it's just kind of very high level and, a zoomed out view to say, that we all know that we have a harder, financial conditions as things have kind of changed, as health insurance has increased, as we get a new trash contract, as we've, been adding on employees
Got it.
in the fire department. So it shows that, at this point in time, it's doable. It's a tight budget, but it's doable going forward for the next 5 years. But without kind of having a specific topic to look at it with, it's a very general overview.
Thank you. Council in seat 4, Council Vice President Dion.
Good evening. So when I look at this capital improvement plan, it's supposed to be a forecast of the future, correct?
The 5-year financial forecast or the capital plan? Sorry.
Well, the capital improvement plan is also a forecast.
Correct. Well, it's a
Right.
plan.
It's a plan,
It's not a forecast. It's supposed to be a plan.
okay. So what I don't understand is why 2026 is even in this. And the reasons being, most of 2026 is behind us, not in front of us. Some of these projects are either ongoing, already funded. It's not funding that's gonna come down the road in our financial forecast. So why wouldn't that just be in something separate of projects that are ongoing, which should be, to me, totally separate from this?
So, I'm sorry, so in speaking about the capital plan and why it's included, it's because it is a plan, and it's supposed to show what we're doing, what we're planning to do next. And so I think having the current year of where it's at, you're right, some of it is already funded, which is why it's included, to show that this is what we're doing now. Because I know that some of the conversation of, well, why is this for next year? Why isn't this a priority? Or what's the plan for this? It's kind of showing how we're taking it on now versus, and explaining why some of the things are planned for the following year, because we've already done what we could this year. So it is still 5 years going out. It is still 27 through 31 in that 5-year sense for the capital plan. But 26 is included just to kind of also show where we're at that point in time. When you're talking about the financial forecast that's in front of you for tonight, we have the 26 numbers in there because all of these projections going forward for the next 5 years are based on what's happening today. So those numbers are included in here not as a year of forecast, but as a year of basis that we're kind of building on moving forward.
Okay, so let me ask you, because a substantial amount of money in here is from opera funding. So, has to be fully expended by December of 2026. Some of these items have to be expended by September of 2026. It doesn't go all the way to December, depending on the category they're in. So I look at page 7 in this book, capital needs by department.
Counselor, if I may interject for a moment, we're talking about two completely separate things, and maybe I said it wrong. We have a capital improvement plan that we have in our binder, and then we have a financial forecast. The financial forecast is the only item that's before us tonight.
Oh, my
The
error.
item that's before us, the capital will be discussed at the next meeting.
My error.
But, I mean, if it's a question regarding the financial aspect of it, I think it's a valid question, but I don't want there to be confusion, because we have two packets on our desk, but tonight is the financial forecast.
All right, I'll wait till we get to that. I mean, it is relevant, but, yeah, you're right, it's off track, so. Okay, I'll yield.
Thank you,
Sorry.
Counselor in seat 8, Counselor Reposo.
I yield, I'm all set.
Counselor in seat 3, Counselor Canuel.
Ms. Harpke, one quick question for you. In the FY '27 projected, the local receipts dropped by a little over $4 million compared to the last couple of years and continue on around that track for the next few years. I just wanted to understand better what's driving that over 10%
So
drop.
that's being driven by the investment income. We have had very large numbers of investment income since FY '24, starting in FY '24 and in '25, and what we're on track for in '26. We know that those interest rates are coming down. Those are not typical and sustained interest rates. So while we still have a decent amount of cash that we will be earning interest on, it won't be at the 5+% that we've been earning it at. So, and it's the most, of all of the local receipts, it's the most volatile and least amount, that we have any sort of control and say over. So we kind of jump back to be super conservative. As each year approaches, we could be a little bit more aggressive when we're setting the budget and planning for it at that point. But forecasting out, we have to kind of go at what the historic rate has been that we've been able to receive on interest, and it's nowhere near 5%.
Okay. And then the only other question I had was around state aid. It seemed like we were making a really big assumption. Maybe you guys have like early indicators that the state aid education from FY '26 to '27 would increase by 20 million, but then in subsequent years, it's only about 5 million per year each.
Yep, so that is, we do actually have for FY '27, the first budgeted and proposed budgeted numbers are out from the state. The numbers that are included in this forecast are just from the governor's budget. So
Okay.
at that point in time, those are the numbers straight from that budget proposal. The reality is that will probably be different by the time we submit budget. But then projected in '28, specifically speaking to education and it dropping off, the net school spending, the Student Opportunity Act is, I'm going to say the increase is dropping off by that fiscal year. So we expect that the funding will match in that sense of it will stop increasing at an extremely high rate that it has been for the last, I think, 10 years now. So it's just going to normalize, but so will the expenses at that point in time. Obviously, if that changes, that specifically, that state aid education, if it goes up, a high amount, so does the expense line. And if that goes down a high amount, typically the expense line will not go down, but it'll match in that sense.
Thank you. I yield.
Counselor in seat 8, Counselor Reposo.
And just a quick question on the expenditures. What do you have for negotiations in front of you coming forward?
Everything.
Uh,
So
fair
we have
answer.
settled ASME, as you guys have known, you
Yeah.
guys you voted on that contract. But otherwise, we are still in negotiations for Teamsters, for police, for fire, both police unions, patrol and Superior. We still have the fire one open. We still have the local the custodian one. So we still have essentially all of them except for ASME open at this time. So we kind of just have in there the increase based on what ASME settled at for
Conservative
everybody.
projections?
Yeah, it's just what we have at this point in time. That's something that, again, will change as soon as contracts are settled. We will be able to put for those 3 years, those set amounts in there. But that's why this document, again, it's intended as a tool, not its own presentation, because every day that one of those items changes, this document would change and support the next decision that, we have. So I would like to be able to move towards this document being submitted to you guys regularly, but in conjunction with another financial item that's being presented to you at that time.
Good. I yield. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a point of information. How much are you projecting for new growth in the next couple of fiscal years?
I have that right here. So new growth, it's actually more of a dollar amount rather than an actual percentage increase. So it's about 1.5 to 2 million based on the historic. So we know that we've had several years of good new growth, being up to, $3.2 million, $3.5 million. But the reality is when you pull out some of those high averages, we come in at about $2 million a year. So this is factoring in, I think it's about 1.8 million with about a 1% increase each year because obviously the cost of, you know, goods and the values go up each year, so that base amount will continue to grow a little bit, but it probably won't be sustained at the $3+ million it's been.
Okay, and lastly, how is it that, under the debt service, you're only anticipating that going up from a minimal basis of several $100,000 from fiscal year to fiscal year?
Because of the debt that's dropping off each year, we're at a point where especially because we haven't been taking on debt the last several years, we have such a significant amount of debt dropping off that the amount coming on, it essentially starts to wash out.
All right, for our next quarterly update, can you give us a debt schedule in terms of debt that is retiring off in the next 3 fiscal years? I think that'd be helpful to the city council.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Counselor in seat 7, Counselor Pereira.
I would just like to add, I know that we're talking about the new growth, and we all have all these buildings going up around the community, around the city. So obviously, we see that there is new growth. But also with the new growth, especially with housing, we have to look at the fact that now you're gonna have more housing, more people, more student, increase in police, increase in fire, increase in the school department. It's kind of a balance, you know what I mean?
Correct.
So your new growth isn't really gonna be all new growth, because you're gonna be spending it to take care of the individuals that are moving into the city.
Correct. We
So-
do have, I mean, increased costs every year factored in as well. All of the expenses, nothing is going down in the sense of the expenses between personnel and actual expenses. So all of that is also continuing to grow up at actually a greater rate than what that new growth is going up at. So the new growth, like I mentioned, it's about 1.8 million with a 1.25% increase on that. All of the expenses are going up, you know, 2 to 3% each year. The salaries are going up anywhere from 2.5% to 4% each year. So we are, you know, expecting all of that to increase at a greater rate than the new growth is.
And I know community development throws in and helps this city out a lot along the way. Do we know how much the feds are cutting from community development?
We don't necessarily
We don't
have
know
that
yet, so
right
that's
now.
something you can't even make a projection or do anything
Well, so
on.
part of that we're
because it's
factoring in
unknown.
by taking on some of the, you know, capital that they've been supporting
Right.
with the sense of the fire trucks, you know, that is baked into the capital improvement plan now not being funded by CDA, which is also factored into these numbers. So we are trying to make some of those changes as we kind of know what's happening. But again, that's, you know, some of that predicting exactly what will change with that and how it'll impact the general fund is a hard game right now. So as we know more information, it will be factored into, you know, documents like this, and as that information comes in and we speak to you on it, we could be updating, you know, this forecast to present
Thank
during
you.
those conversations.
With that, I yield.
Thank you, Counselor. Anything further on this item? Hearing none, thank you very much. Next item on our agenda is item number 4, transfers and appropriations. Pull that up here for a moment. No referral is going to be needed on it, but the transfers and appropriations are where?
Number 11.
Number 11, just number 11. Thank you, Council in seat 1. In accordance with the provisions of Chapter 44, Section 32, the Massachusetts General Laws, the mayor is recommending appropriations to this council by the sum of $221,000 being the same hereby appropriated to EMS salaries from EMS retained earnings. That's item 11 on the full council agenda. Thank you, Councilor in seat 1, for that. Any questions on this item?
No.
Councilor in seat 7, Councilor Pereira.
I really don't have a question on this, but I think for people to think that this was done on purpose, I guess by the EMS, the retained earnings, is this the extra money for the salaries? No.
Ms. Arpke?
So retained earnings is the enterprise fund version of free cash each year. So that's what that is. So when we have, you know, excess revenues over expenses and no liabilities that need to be covered, we have a certified free cash number. That's nothing new. We're just transferring from that to cover this one-time payment that needs to be made right now for those wages.
Mr. McElhaney?
One-time payment for what?
Mr. McElhaney can answer that.
Yeah, Nick McElhaney, Director of Human Resources. So essentially, I tried to put as much in the letter as possible to the council, or to the mayor that came down to council. I may have oversimplified it a little bit, but based on the EMS schedule, EMS is averaging 42 hours per week that they're worked. The Department of Labor contacted us back in September to say that the average hours over the 40 weeks that EMS is not exempt from overtime like police and fire are. So these are wages that we're obligated to pay. The period was September 1st, 23 through August 31st of 25, that they've come back and said that they should have received overtime for those hours, that we are legally obligated to pay those hours of overtime.
I understand that, but my concern is that, and I just want the public to know, it wasn't, an error. This has been going on, I don't know, Chief Fantz, you've been here 30-plus years. This was always paid this way. And then when somebody filed with the state and said, hey, this is wrong, we're not paid the same as police and fire, we're not exempt from that. And that came to your attention. But this was something that had been done all along. So now that it came to attention, and I give whoever that person was that called the state to say, hey, I think we're not getting the overtime we should be getting, God bless them. If they find there's something, you've got to be fair to everybody. But this wasn't done on purpose, because when these contracts were done with EMS, the city, the unions, they negotiated. They all agreed with the wages and how everything was set up. So it wasn't that this was done or, that somebody wasn't watching the ball, or it's been done for a long time. And I'm happy that somebody did mention it and that we can fix it. Because New Bedford had the same thing happen, and they paid a lot more than us. I don't know how we lucked out. I know it's a lot of money, but we lucked out with paying a little bit less than I thought, and I don't know if you or Chief Fantz or anybody
Yeah.
negotiated.
Well, no, this has been since the 90s with the 10-14 schedule,
Right.
and then it made no change with the 24-hour schedule. It made no change with the split from fire. It just, they're not doing suppression or prevention. I will tell you that Chief Fantz and her staff went through all of the documents that the WHD provided and was able to work through, compare payroll records, and show they used vacation time this day, sick time this day, personal time this day, which does not apply to that 40-hour, to going over the 40 hours for overtime. So she was able to do a significant amount of work to reduce the amount of back wages that we have to pay.
Chief Fantz, how much did you get reduced by all the paperwork you had to do?
She went from 317 to 221.
317 to 220, 221, or
90
whatever.
grand.
Well, thank you, Chief.
Well,
With your due diligence, we saved a little bit of money, but I just didn't want people to think that this was like an error, that we did something wrong. It's been going on and nobody ever picked up on it. So,
I think from my reading, if it was proven.
can you speak into the mic a little bit?
I think in my reading, and I think that I think Nick can probably attest, is that if they found that it was intentional, then they could have increased the fine, and they could have increased the years that we were accountable for. So by the letter that we got and the demand that we got, it proved that it was not intentional, or that, we did it on purpose. It was fairly
Right.
negotiated with the city, it was fairly negotiated with the union, it just wasn't done the right way.
Well, and I just think it's important for the public to know that, because everybody always thinks, that all politicians get money put in their pocket. I've been here 25 years, I've never put a penny in my pocket, and I don't think any of my colleagues have either. So, it's just a perception sometimes that they get that's totally wrong, and I wanted to make sure that it was out there, that it was nothing intentional. And again, thank you both, thank you, Nick.
Thank
With
you.
that, I yield.
Thank you. Anything further on this item?
Nope.
Thank you very much. That's the only item for transfers and appropriations, which was item 11 of the full council, Madam Clerk, correct?
Yes.
Is there a motion to adjourn the Committee on
Motion to
Finance?
adjourn.
Made by
Seconded.
Councilor Reposo, seconded by Councilor Hart. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We're going to keep rolling. 7 o'clock on the dot. Couldn't have been any more
Okay,
perfect.
we ready?
What's the matter? What's the matter?
This is a weird one.
Oh. This floor of a city council meeting will now be called to order. Madam Clerk.
Counselor Scadine? Here. Tamara?
Here.
Canuel?
Here.
Dion?
Here.
Hart?
Here.
Peckham?
Here.
Carrera?
Here.
Reposo? Here. President Ponti?
Here, if everybody in the chamber can please rise for a moment of silent prayer. Thank you, and a salute to the flag. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made whether perceived or unperceived by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. Councilor Pereira?
Okay. Mr. Lavasia, we could come down from Sarah Riley. Is this on? Good evening. How is retirement, Mr. Lavasia?
I highly recommend it.
In recognition for your 40 years of service to the city of Fall River, 1985, you started. Imagine. And also as a consultant for Walden Forestries, we thank you. I know that in dealing with lots of people up in the forest and the reservation area, I know that many of the neighbors up there really admire the work that you've done. And no one better than have Sarah, who deals with that whole division up there, to say a few words on behalf of what the neighborhood up there feels about all your work. Sarah?
Should I do this
Go
one?
ahead.
Okay. Mike, when Linda asked me to represent the neighbors to acknowledge your legacy, I was honored. I met you along with Everett Castro right after our first big cleanup off Bell Rock Road in 2005. I was an idealistic 25-year-old looking for my place and my purpose, and you were working with the trustees of reservations advocating for conservation even then, and you surely made an impression. For those who don't remember what the forest looked like then, it was an endless sea of tires, mattresses, and construction debris. Now, thanks to your tireless work, it's a one-of-a-kind destination that Fall River and the state of Massachusetts can be proud to offer. You played a big part in the formation of the Southeastern Massachusetts Bioreserve, establishing conservation restrictions which would protect it in perpetuity. You managed and expanded that resource creatively with CPG grant funding, growing the footprint of our city's greatest resource, including the purchase of Adirondack Farms, the future site for a Bioreserve Education Center. You have preserved vital Fall River history and built Bioreserve partners to carry your legacy, ensuring a long-term plan for protected wetlands, clean water, and sustainable environmental welfare for the next generation. You have served your community well, and the neighbors appreciate you and your many years of service. For your partnership, thank you.
Thank you.
Take a little badge.
It is. So this is an official resolution from the City Council for your dedication to the Fall River community for over 40 years, for your service and the improvement of the quality of life for all from 1985 to 2026. Thank you so very much. I don't know if they have put anyone in your position yet, but I hope that if they do, if they can fill half of your shoe, we'll be very lucky. You have been outstanding. So from all the city council, thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Could my reward be 2 minutes?
Absolutely, we're going to allow you to.
You can have 3 minutes if you like.
3 minutes, yeah, citizen of 3 minutes.
Oops.
Oh.
Mr. President and council, yeah, thank you so much. I could never trust myself to stay on track if I didn't do this. But it's been an honor and a privilege, of course, being the next person up, filling the role at the Watuppa Reservation as the forester. The Watuppa Reservation was born nearly 90 years before I began to have my part there in the 80s. The city gave me an opportunity to develop a joyful relationship with what is arguably one of the city's most valuable and remarkable assets. And I'm going to steal, Sarah stole a lot of my thunder, but it's almost cliche how we lift up our city forefathers for their wisdom in acquiring the North Watuppa Pond and their good sense in protecting the land surrounding it. And we're delighted to tell anybody who will listen that the city is half water and forest and protected forever. That's so important. And we're delighted, oh, I said that. But when you steep in this beautiful area, as Sarah has for year after year, you begin to feel that this land and this awesome responsibility is so much bigger than you can really express. In fact, it's so big you want to share it. And the city has been blessed to have reservation caretakers working alongside us who get that and have demonstrated through their hard work and dedication that we are stewards of a precious resource, and we are simply passing it forward. I want to thank the Water Department Administrator, past and present administrators, and the Water Board for their trust and support over the years as well. I believe my marching order from day one was simple. Do what is best for the water supply, for the reservation forest, and for the residents of Fall River, and do it efficiently and in a way that is not a burden to the ratepayers. That's really been so true. That's all I strove to do, and I believe my replacement, Jim Smith, who's in the cheap seats, feels the same way. So we passed the baton to Jim. But I also want to hold the mirror to you and to the City Council, and thank you for your longstanding support, which may sometimes go unrecognized. As a body, you have supported so many key actions that made an impact on protecting this irreplaceable resource. You voted yes to create the Southeastern Massachusetts Bioreserve, which protected over 3,000 acres of Fall River land and more than doubled protection of the Copacabana Reservoir. You accepted the Community Preservation Act, which, while an effective historic preservation tool, also helped protect hundreds more acres of watershed land. You regularly approve the Water Department's grant applications that secure outside funds to secure conservation land protection. And very importantly, you have become well-versed in approving conservation restrictions, which ensure that these lands remain protected forever for all generations to come. And then finally, and so it's a short list, and it's not complete, but finally, you approved and supported our acquisition for Adirondack Farm, which will be the environmental education and center and also the Bioreserve Gateway. It will be a place to welcome visitors, tell the story of Fall River's natural treasure, and nurture a sentiment toward stewarding Fall River's natural resources. So again, I thank you for your consistent trust and support in the Water Department's mission in this realm, and please continue to support the completion of the Bioreserve Discovery Center. And with that, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you so much.
Well, you'll be coming around, I'm sure.
I'll be at the bad time.
There you go.
Mike, just go, shake council's hands if you like.
Thank you. Thank you for everything.
Support over the years.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good job. Enjoy yourself.
Tackle me now.
You absolutely do. No, you can sit. Okay, this comes a little odd. Usually, we don't present citations to people who are deceased. However, this is Tom, and Tom Boulia, am I pronouncing it correctly?
Perfect.
Perfect. And I know many of you remember Kathy Castro. This is Kathy Castro's brother. And he called and said, gee, my sister did a lot for this community and this area. Would love to be able to get a citation. So I said, I agree with you. She passed away on February 9th of 2024, and lifelong resident of Fall River, and she graduated from Sacred Hearts Academy, as I did. And she got an associate's degree at Bryant University, her master's in UMass. She works for New Bedford School Department. She was the owner and publisher of Au Journal. She was a member of the Fall River and the New Bedford Rotary Clubs. She received the Paul Harris Fellowship Award, recipient of the Woman of the Year Award presented by the Fall River Business and Professional Women's Club. She was a member of the Friends of the Public Library, the Fall River Historical Society, the Wamsutta Club, the Quikashant Club, and a member of the Little Theater, where she produced and directed many plays. And she also was a talk show host on WSAR. and she was lastly appointed by Governor Maura Healey to the Massachusetts Cultural Council. So for all that she's done, the City Council would like to present to you, Tom, a citation for your sister, on behalf of your sister. It's funny, I would meet a lot with Kathy, and for some reason, our meeting spot was always Newport Creamery for coffee and tea, and she would fill me in on everything. So, on behalf of the City Council of Fall River, a citation in honor of your sister, Kathleen Castro, and I just recited all the things that she did for our community. So I thank you so much. It's unfortunate, we should have thought of this when she was here to receive it.
Well, she received a lot of awards
She
in her
has.
time, but nothing more important and precious to her would be from Fall River.
Exactly.
Yeah, she was a Renaissance woman in Fall River.
Microphone.
She was nothing-
Renaissance woman.
She was nothing she was into. You're a Renaissance woman as well. And you know what that's like. There's a Renaissance man and there's a Renaissance woman. The Renaissance woman has to work a little harder to become,
Oh, honey, I know that.
it's not easy, and it wasn't easy for her. But with the paper, with the,
Why don't I give you the microphone and you can say a few words?
Yeah.
If you feel
I will.
sitting down is more comfortable for
Well,
you, that's
no,
fine.
Yeah, it might be, yeah.
That's
It,
fine.
you know, when she had the Ogiano paper, 42 years, it's still in existence, it's still written in the Herald News. Wedge De Silva, a young lady she took under her wing and really helped her along through college and everything else, still writes for that paper. And the publication, you know, helped put a lot of people in office here, I gotta tell you. You know, from mayors to city councilors to everybody else. And to, you're going further into the state stuff with representatives and senators. Her house on High Street, 909 High Street, was a haven for people. She was very friendly with numerous people, and Joe Raposo, Gil Santos, Cardinal Medeiros would be there. I served Mass for Cardinal Medeiros when he was a curate at Sacred Heart Academy. It goes on and on with what she did. She had that People of the Year award she gave Venus de Milo every year, and drew huge crowds of people. And those were a lot of the luminaries. Joe Raposo, Santos was there, Gil Medeiros, all of them. There's no end to all of it. And then she got an award, Woman of the Year. And Bonnie Frank sponsored it for it. It was Businesswoman of the Year for the paper. And it was a Venus de Milo. Oh, you want that? Yeah. It was a Venus de Milo, and he said she was the heartbeat of the Portuguese community in Fall River. She gave of herself completely. If there were any issues, she had him on speed dial. She'd call him right up. This is going on in Fall River. I'd like some help with it. You got to do this. You got to do that. Always for the small guy. She figured the big guy was well taken care of. He didn't need any help, but the small guy did need it. Her life was just to be. One time she called me. She said, "You know where I am, Tom?" I said, "I have no idea where you are. I'd have I would have known where Matt Lauer was easier than where she was." But she told me, she said, "I'm at a convention. I'm at Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco, and guess who I bumped into on the elevator? John Wayne." Right? And he talked to her about plays, and she became friendly with him, and they contacted each other. I was amazed by it. What about me? I'm like, wow, I'd like his autograph or something, So it went on and on. Two Marine Corps pilots came together one time. They picked her up at the house. They went up to Logan Airport, and they flew down to see the Commandant of the Marine Corps. And you're familiar with that, Paul. Your dad was my commanding officer.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, in the Marine Corps. He was a wonderful guy, too.
Yeah, thank you very
Yeah,
much.
and a halfway decent basketball player in his time, too. I remember that. You're only a little guy. But
Thank
yeah,
you.
I'm thinking to myself, how come I'm not going there to 8th and I? How come I'm not going to see all this stuff, the Marine Corps Memorial and all? But she got to do these things. And always with Fall River, always about Fall River, always wanted something to do with Fall River. Loved the city, loved it. She was a great ambassador for Fall River. So she got all this recognition, and then, I'm thinking to myself, gee, it'd be nice if she had something from the city she loves so much, which tonight is being granted. And I appreciate all of you so much, like she would have, and loves you. You're wonderful people. So just a few other things. I know that you did that the brain can only absorb what the rear end will allow it to. So I'm not going to get into too much stuff. But she was good friends with Anthony Quinn. Now Anthony Quinn would be here. I never when I went in her house, I never knew who was gonna be there. It could be Paul Salucci, it could be Governor Well, it could be anybody, you know? And, you know, I was just amazed by all of it, you know? A life lived like that is just beyond belief, you know? I'm trying to see what else I've got here. Good, okay, I got that. Yeah, she directed a lot of plays at the Little Theater here and at our theater in New Bedford. And one of her plays was quite pregnant. It was Our Town by Thornton Wilder. So it's in a cemetery, you know, and she did a wonderful, she did better as she went along. She did A Few Good Men. I could extol her and go on and on for hours. Like I said, I don't want to do it. But she was just a wonderful ambassador here in Florida. Yeah, she was president of, Linda kind of stole my thunder here, because I got all the stuff written down that she did, you know, and you've already heard all of it. And it's hard to believe. She had quite a life for herself. She was a world traveler, went all over the place. I never knew where she was going to be. She mentored everybody, anybody that needed anything. The small guy was her specialty, and she didn't do it for financial remuneration. She did it because she loved life, she loved people, and she wanted to help them. And I'll tell you, the only thing in life that matters in the end, when you get, I'm almost 80 years old now, I'll be 80 in the fall. The only thing that matters is these small things that you do for people to enrich their life. That's what counts in life. Nothing else matters when you hit the grass, believe me, that's it. And to live a life like that, I mean, I couldn't do it. Like, I just, you know, I mean, she just, her whole heart and soul went out to everybody. She met with Bill Clinton in the White House and discussed, and when he came here to speak at South Park, she met with him and talked about issues, always about issues, nothing about her, nothing she wanted, but about the Portuguese community in the city. And our lineage is French and Irish. My mother was all Irish. I had a grandmother that lived with me that had an Irish brogue. And my parents are all buried, the French part is up at Notre Dame, and the Irish part is at St. Patrick's. And we lived there. I went to Sacred Heart School, got slapped around by the nuns. That wasn't enough. I hadn't had enough, so I went to Stan, got slapped around a little more. And then I studied at Providence College, you know, so that was me. You know, just an old guy that, you know, the wheel's spinning too fast for me now. It's spinning much too fast. And I mean, I don't know if I've got anything else to say. Like I say, Linda did it all. Oh, she came to speak. She was appointed to the Arts and Cultural Council by Governor Baker. And then she became, she spoke out here for when they had the tin, what was it? I'm losing myself here. When they had that tin sculpture, there it is. When they had the tin sculpture, she came and spoke to that when that was put up. So, okay, so let me see. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. Sketch portraits, yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it, but a bright light was certainly put out when she passed,
I
the
think
24th.
I think the thing that's most important is not when you met Kathy, it's when she left and made you feel better than you were when you first met her. She empowered you. But thank you so much,
Thank
Tom,
you.
for coming down. I appreciate it. And you can go
One
around
other
to the
thing-
council.
One other thing to say, I was a police officer.
Use the microphone, Linda.
I went to Attleboro, like
Give me the
14
microphone.
unsolved murders in Fall River, like 14 of them. And of course, they eventually got solved. A lot, Joe Donnelly solved a lot of them. I worked with him on different things. When I was in the state police, I was on the security team with Frank Sargent when he was governor. Kathy came to see me one time. I made the mistake of saying to her, "How are things in the Old West?" And she told me, "Don't ever say anything like that to me again." And when she told you something like that, you kind of believed her. I never mentioned Fall River again in any kind of a dark light, believe me, that was it for me. Having been, you know, been brought up in the city and all the rest of it, it was part of me. She said, she told me, "It's your city, you've got to, you know, recognize it. There's wonderful people here, it's a wonderful place and all." So anyway, that's it.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very
I'm
much.
finished, you know.
Thank you.
I hope I haven't taken too much of your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys, I really appreciate it all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, same to you.
Yeah, she goes down every now and then. Good to see you, Don. God bless you. Yeah, yeah, we want to see you, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's a good one. Oh, yeah.
I think it was like from Ukraine or something like that. Can I get copies of that? Do you have copies of the speech? Do you have
Oh,
the-
okay.
He left the speech. Do you have a copy of the speech?
Yeah, but at the office.
Can you scan it? Can you mail it? He came to see Concord. I misplaced the speech and I need it.
Right, Tom, take care.
It's the exact same one.
Great. Thanks. Thank you so much. I've tried that. Ready to retire. Thank you. There's Cliff's over there. Yeah. Bye, Tom.
Madam Clerk, good evening.
Good evening. Mr. President, the first item before you is a communication from the mayor requesting the reappointment of Ricky P. Sarhardi to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Motion to adopt?
Motion to confirm the appointment has been made by Councilor Kamara, seconded by Councilor Hart. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 2 is also a request for the mayor, from the
Motion to
mayor,
adopt.
for the confirmation of the appointment of Sharon Drusom to the Council on Aging.
Motion to adopt has been made by Councilor Hart, seconded by Councilor Peckham. Is there discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 3 is also a request for the confirmation of the appointment of James Cusick to the Conservation Commission.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to confirm the appointment has been made by Councilor Kamara, seconded by Councilor Canuel. Is there discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 4 is a request for the appointment of John Brandt to the Conservation
Motion to
Commission.
confirm.
Motion to confirm the appointment has been made by Councilor Reposo, seconded by Councilor Peckham. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 5 is a communication from the mayor requesting to deliver the State of the City address this evening.
Motion to accept, place on file.
Motion to accept the item and place it on
Second.
file has been made by Councilor Kamara, seconded by Councilor Pereira. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
And item 6 is a request from the mayor for a joint meeting of the City Council and the School Committee to be held on April 14th, 2026, regarding the development of the FY27 budget.
Motion to accept, place on file.
Motion to accept and place on file has been made by Councilor Reposo, seconded by Councilor Peckham. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 7 is a communication from the mayor and a proposed ordinance for the salary amendment of the Director of Health and Human Services.
Motion to refer to Committee on Ordinances.
Motion to refer to the Committee on Ordinances and Legislation has been made by Councilor Kamara, seconded by Councilor Reposo. Is there discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 8 is a communication from the mayor and a request for the approval of the termination of Kyle Coletti as constable. We did receive Mr. Coletti's resignation late in the day today, so the council's action would be either grant leave to withdraw or to accept and place on file.
Second.
Motion to give the item leave to withdraw has been made by Councilor Kamara,
Second.
seconded by Councilor Hart. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 9 is a communication from the mayor and a request from the purchasing agent for the city council to approve a public online auction for surplus property.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve has been made by Councilor Kamara,
Second.
seconded by Councilor Reposo. Discussion, Councilor in seat 7, Councilor Pereira.
The only issue I have with this is before, when we had, things that we had to auction off or surplus, they did it somewhere where people could actually go see it, and they had an auction. The online auctions, I think we lost money. The stoves that we had, that they sold for $400, those things are worth like $2,000. And I don't agree that it should just be all online. You couldn't even go online to find out where this auction was. I had about 4 people, had the hardest time. So you wanna go online, but I'm opposed to online, so I'd request a roll call.
Thank you, Councilor. You yield?
I yield.
Councilor in seat 3, Councilor Canuel.
Yes, under the charter, section 2972, The surplus property shall be sold or disposed of under terms and conditions dictated by the city council. The terms put out by Mr. Coelho, the purchasing agent, says that these funds will go back to the general fund. And I would like to see something different happen, particularly with respect to the public safety items. We have 9 police department vehicles and 13 lots of other equipment. On the fire side, we have 13 lots for Center Street and 26 HQ lots. Be my preference that we would say that anything being sold by the police department goes back to the police department in terms of those funds, and anything from the fire department items go back to the fire department. I feel like this is money that was given to them at some point. They fought for, to get that equipment, and it could be further reinvested for them. So that, I would prefer it to be that way. With that, I yield.
Thank you, Councilman C1. Councilor Kadim?
Thank you. I don't necessarily disagree with my colleague. I will just say that, the funds, depending how they were spent, could come from a number of revenue funds or sources, if you will, whether it's free cash or, local receipts that come in. The only thing is that if it's not going to be specified into a special revenue account or a revolving account, it's got to go into the general fund. So I don't know, and I guess I'd leave it up to the CFO if the fire has a special revenue account or a revolving account. I'm not quite sure, but if that's the intent of my colleague, we would just have to state that. So, because if not, it's got to go back into the general fund.
I'm not sure if this item is pressing. If you want to refer to the Committee on Finance, we could certainly have the discussion in Finance at the time, Counselor. It's totally up to you. The motion on the floor is to adopt it right now, but
Yeah, sorry.
sorry, you have the floor. Sorry.
No, I yield. I just
Thank
wanted
you.
to clarify that.
Councilor in seat 2, Councilor Kamara.
Yeah, no, I agree with my colleagues as well, especially with Council Pereira. There's no reason that we can't have an auction at one location and do online also. That's how most auctions are done, where people can go visit and look at the product themselves and view it, and then also do online. I don't know. She's right. We used to do it in the past. It was strictly at one site, get all the stuff there. It takes a little bit of work, but I think you should have both options available. With that, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor at this point to approve it as currently presented by the mayor. Is that still the will, or do you want to refer this item
Motion
to
to
the?
refer to finance.
Motion to refer the item to
I'll
the Committee on
second.
Finance has been made by Councilor Canuel, seconded by
I'll
Councilor
second.
Pereira. Discussion on the referral, which will take precedence over the approval. Motion, hearing no further discussion, motion has been made by Councilor Canuel, seconded by Councilor Pereira. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item has been referred to the Committee on Finance.
Item 10 is a communication from the mayor and a grant order from Borderland Partners LLC in the amount of $5,910,000 for the completion of a community stroke risk factor and symptom awareness project in collaboration with Brown University Health at St. Anne's Hospital.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Motion to adopt has been made by Councilor Reposo, seconded by Councilor Hart. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Seat 2 abstain.
Council in seat 2 abstained. Hearing no further discussion, the ayes have it.
Item 11 is a communication from the mayor and an appropriation of $221,413.23 from the EMS retained earnings to EMS salaries.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt has been made by
Seconded.
Councilor Reposo, seconded by Councilor Hart. Is there discussion on the adoption? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 12 is a communication from the Administrator of Community Utilities requesting the postponement of the submission date of the FY27 Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund budgets due to rescheduling of Watuppa Water Board and Sewer Commission meetings.
Motion to accept and place on file.
Motion to accept and place on file has been made
Second.
by Councilor Reposo, seconded by Councilor Peckham. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 13 is the number of recommendations from the Traffic
Motion to refer
Commission.
to Committee on Ordinances.
Motion to refer
Seconded.
the item to the Committee on Ordinances and Legislation has been made by Councilor Reposo, seconded by Councilor Hart. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
The Committee on Ordinances and Legislation, at a meeting held on March 3rd, 2026, voted unanimously to recommend the accompanying proposed ordinance, accompanied by an emergency preamble, be passed through first reading, second reading, passed to be enrolled, and passed to be ordained. This is a proposed ordinance for handicap parking.
Motion to adopt the emergency preamble.
Motion to adopt the emergency preamble has been made by Counselor Reposo, seconded by Counselor Kamara. Roll call.
On adopting the emergency preamble, Councilors Kadim?
Yes.
Kamara?
Yes.
Canuel?
Yes.
Dion?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
Yes.
Peckham?
Sorry,
Yes.
my apologies.
Pereira?
Yes.
Reposo?
Yes.
President Ponti?
Yes.
Motion to pass all readings.
Motion to pass the item through all readings has been made by Counselor Kamara, seconded by Counselor Reposo. Discussion, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 15 is a committee report from the Committee on Ordinances and Legislation at a meeting held on March 3rd, 2026. Voted unanimously to recommend that the accompanying proposed ordinance be passed through first reading. This is a proposed ordinance for miscellaneous traffic.
Motion to pass through first reading.
Second.
Motion to pass the item through first reading has been made by Counselor Reposo, seconded by Counselor Peckham. Discussion, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
The Committee on Ordinances and Legislation at a meeting held on March 3rd, 2026, voted unanimously to recommend that the accompanying proposed ordinance be passed through first reading as amended. This is an amendment to the Commissioner of Municipal Buildings and Code Enforcement Inspector of Buildings.
Motion to pass the
salary
first
and
reading as
title.
amended.
Second.
Motion to pass the item through first reading as amended has been made by Counselor Kamara,
Second.
seconded by Counselor Pereira. Discussion, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
The Committee on Ordinances and Legislation, at a meeting held on March 3rd, 2026, voted unanimously to recommend that the accompanying resolution be granted leave to withdraw. This is regarding the requirements for assisted living facilities.
Motion to grant leave to withdraw.
Motion to grant the item leave to withdraw has been made by Counselor Kamara, seconded by Counselor Peckham. Discussion, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Whereas in 2001, the City of Fall River and the Fall River Office of Economic Development commissioned a waterfront master plan by Land Design Research, and whereas the report recommended pursuing state and federal support to enhance the waterfront area, including streetscape improvements along Duval, Water, and Anawan Streets, revitalization of the Fall River City Pier, restoration of commuter rail service with a waterfront terminal, removal of the Route 195 spaghetti ramps, and removal of the elevated Route 79 highway to support housing, commercial, and service sector development. And whereas the City of Fall River has actively pursued these recommendations by securing state and federal funding to improve waterfront access and redevelopment opportunities. And whereas the Fall River Redevelopment Authority commissioned the Duval Street Corridor Master Plan in January 2024, which after public input proposes approximately 2 million square feet of development, including 1,480 residential units, 61,000 square feet of retail, restaurant, and commercial space, 2,200 parking spaces, and an estimated $1 billion in private investment. And whereas Massachusetts Bill House Number 4071 authorizes the conveyance of land formerly used for highway purposes to the Fall River Redevelopment Authority for economic development uses, including residential, retail, and commercial development. And whereas the conveyance requires the Fall River Redevelopment Authority to remit 50% of the fair market value of each parcel sold or leased over a 10-year period to the Commonwealth. And whereas the Fall River Redevelopment Authority will reinvest all their proceeds from the sale or lease of each parcel over the same 10-year period into the waterfront transit-oriented district and elsewhere in the city to support economic development. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council urges Mayor Paul E. Coogan, Senator Michael J. Rodrigues, and the entire Fall River State Legislative Delegation to work collaboratively and proactively to advance and approve the terms and conditions set forth in House 4071, enabling the City of Fall River to revitalize the full residential, commercial, and economic development potential of its waterfront and to generate significant new economic development revenues, property tax revenues, and housing opportunities.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt has been made by Counselor Reposo, seconded by Counselor Kadim. Discussion, Counselor, co-sponsor of the resolution, Counselor in seat one, Counselor Kadim.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I'm just going to ask my colleagues to support this. I think the resolution speaks for itself. The redevelopment authority, again, commissions the master plan that was going down, that the state's gonna be using. So as we all know, the federal government gave money along with the state for that property. All I'm essentially looking for is that the sale of that property that we receive, 50 cents on the dollar, that goes back to the redevelopment authority to actually be reinvested in that corridor, so that we know that there's gonna be additional development going down there. I know the state came before us, we were having a good conversation, it was back and forth as to whether or not who was gonna take ownership of that land. I think as long as the master plan is followed, I think the most important thing is if we can get a portion of the proceeds from the sale of that property back into the city through the redevelopment authority, not necessarily through the city itself, but the redevelopment authority, to ensure that we will have additional investment down in the corridor, because there's a lot more investment that needs to take place in that corridor when we look at the 79 corridor. So from my standpoint, there's already a bill out there, so we're just really urging the delegation to be able to support this and move this forward. So if it is adopted, I would just ask that a letter be sent to the President of the Senate, the Speaker of the House, and our delegation as well, so Senator Rodrick's and the state delegation.
Noted, Counselor. Thank you. You yield?
I do.
Thank you. Counselor in seat 3, Counselor Canuel.
Thank you. I do want to say that there's this bill 4071. There's been a prevailing bill, House number 4973, that was reported to the Joint Committee of State Administration and Regulatory Oversight on January 22nd. It was reported favorably out of that committee. It's moved now to Ways and Means. The language of which is in 4973 has changed some of the language in 4071, which I don't fully support. So with that, I won't be supporting this. I yield.
Thank you. Counselor in seat 7, Counselor Pereira.
I think that with this bill, with the property that we have down by the waterfront, I think Council Kadim's right. The feds have given, what, 70–80%, the state has given money. The one thing, so I think, I'd like to see a collaboration of everybody working together, but the bottom line is, I don't care who comes and develops this project, Fall River still is gonna be the ones doing the permitting and the zoning, so there's something that we have a hold of. But from what I'm hearing, that will be such a good development that they have a lot of national developers that are interested in it. If it's just for a certain percentage of money to go to redevelopment, I just don't think that, I don't think the state's gonna be in favor. I've heard the Senator Rodrick's on the radio speaking against it. Now, whether it's against just having redevelopment authority take over that whole area and develop it, because I was in the car and I had to get out of the car and I didn't finish hearing the rest of it. But I'll support it to send a letter, because you're only gonna send a letter. And let's see what happens from the letter, and let's see what the response is. But I don't think we're gonna get a positive response. I'm just throwing it out there. But at least we've got zoning and permitting that we can hold on to. With that, I yield.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion? Counselor in seat 2, Counselor Kamara.
Yeah, I'm also struggling to support it because, I mean, the state has invested so much and in good faith working with them. When the two gentlemen came down here from the state and Mr. Fayol was down here, it seemed like everyone could work together collaboratively. Now we're saying we're gonna have portion go to the Development Authority. I think the state and the federal government are both gonna wanna get, you know, some of their money back and invest as well. And we can work collaboratively with both entities in there, and I think it should just stay that way. With that, I yield.
I wish.
Counselor in seat 1, Counselor Kadim.
No, I appreciate everybody's opinion in this matter. From my standpoint, it's a letter requesting us to support House Bill 4071. If we don't send the letter, we don't ask, we're not getting any money, right? So worst case scenario is it's a no. Best case scenario, we get 50 cents on the dollar, which we can then reinvest in that location, so.
Well, just point of clarification, if I may. The city doesn't get the money.
Redevelopment Authority.
Right.
So, which is a quasi-governmental agency
Correct.
for the city, right? Yeah. So I'm just asking my colleagues to support the letter, to, you know, urge the support at the State House, and if it's a positive outcome, then we've done our due diligence to try to get additional money back into the city to get reinvested. So with that, I yield.
Thank you. Counselor in seat 2, Counselor Kamara.
Yeah, no, and I understand my colleague's point, and I respect the resolution and both co-sponsors of it, but I just think I don't want to get too greedy with the state and the federal government. They've given us an awful lot of investment up there. They've given us an awful lot overall. So I just think that everyone should recoup what they should be getting. With that, I yield.
Thank you. I'm going to be supporting it, just for whatever it's worth. I always have a concern with how our.
Mr. President, if I may, if you're gonna take your position on the stance, you have to come down. to
Yeah,
the
no,
floor.
I'm
If you wanna make
giving
a
it-
comment without telling your position, that's one thing.
Yeah, I'm going to
But
just make it a point of information
You
that.
can't say you're
I'm-
gonna support an act or not as the chair up there. You just have to come down and speak, whether, if you're supportive or against an item.
Okay,
Just
well,
so
I'm
you know.
supporting the item. I'm not going
I
to go
get
down,
it.
I'm
So
telling you
you
right
just-
now. Anything further?
That's supposed to
Roll
say
call.
you're supporting it
Thank
from
you.
there.
Motion has been made.
Is that why you co-sponsored it? Because you're supporting it?
Oh,
right.
that's what
Just,
we'll
just a point of information.
I mean, we've all done it before, Counselor, I
Well,
know.
I've never stated support for or against.
All right,
So
thank you.
That's my only point.
Motion has been made and
I
seconded.
don't wanna get another-
Hearing no further discussion.
Filed with
Roll
the
call.
open meeting law complaint. I don't
On
want to get an open
adopting
meeting
the
law complaint.
resolution, Counselors Kadim,
Yes.
Kamara,
No.
Canuel,
No.
Dion,
No.
Hart,
Yes.
Peckham,
Yes.
Pereira,
Yes.
Reposo,
Yes.
President Ponti.
Yes. Item passes.
What was the
Next order of
outcome?
business. Thank you.
6-4, 5-4.
6:30.
Whereas the Community Preservation Act, MGL Chapter
I
44B,
thought Linda
provides a dedicated funding source to support community housing, open space, historic preservation, and recreation projects. And whereas the City Council and the Community Preservation Committee each play important and complementary roles in the review, prioritization, and appropriation of CPA-funded projects. And whereas coordination between the CPC and the City Council is beneficial to ensure shared understanding of funding opportunities, project readiness, and long-term fiscal planning. Now therefore be it resolved that the Committee on Finance and the Community Preservation Committee hold a joint meeting with the administration to discuss upcoming priorities for Community Preservation Act funding categories and potential projects.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt has been made by Counselor Reposo, seconded by Counselor Peckham. Discussion. Counselor who sponsored the resolution. Counselor in seat 1, Counselor Kadim.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, resolution speaks for itself, but I think the intent of this resolution is really just to open the lines of communication with the CPC. I, for one, think that the CPA Act is a benefit to us. It's a tool that we can use to preserve and use additional funding for a number of projects. But I think what tends to happen is that we never really have a good dialogue between the CPC and the City Council. The only time we really have any type of conversation is when the projects are already being recommended to us. So I think part of the conversation should be just having a joint understanding of what our goals and objectives would be for the various categories that we have in the CPC or CPA bucket, because it's open space, housing, the other categories that just went out of my brain, so I can't remember them all. But there are 4 categories. So we just need to start having those conversations. A lot of the projects that we've seen in the past have been private property projects. Some of the things that we have talked about as a council is leveraging these dollars to get some more public projects going on. So I think that's important as well. So I think this will, if approved, having the CPC come back before us to have a good dialogue in terms of what we want to see moving forward. With that, I yield.
Thank you, Counselor in seat 2, Counselor Kamara.
Yeah, I'm gonna support the resolution as well. It's just a little tricky though, because they get requests regularly, and then I'm not sure how they're gonna, maybe they should be letting us know of the requests they're getting, so see what, I mean, they have coming down, but there is a timeline that they have to, from when they get the request to what they have to approve. So it's gonna be a little tricky, but I do agree with the resolution, the intent of it, and I can support it, because it is something that we probably should know what they're looking to do well before they bring it to us in the form of either you vote it up or vote it down. So I agree with it. With that, I'll yield. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor in seat 7, Counselor Pereira.
Well, one of the things the CPA has a person in Boston that I believe they pay like $4,000 money a year, that person kind of helps them guide through the laws and that. But if, I know his first name is Stewart, and I can't for the life of me think of his last name, but maybe that would be someone to contact prior to scheduling a meeting to see if we can do that, or maybe if that person could be present as well. Because I have had concerns with some things that are, that money's given to certain things and other things aren't, or they think they're gonna get the money and then it gets pulled. There's been some concerns. I'd like to know how that's all working. With that, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Madam Clerk, if you could just note that for the record, if you can invite that individual that our colleague just spoke about when we have this item, that'd be great.
Will do.
Hearing no further discussion on the adoption, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Whereas organizations such as the Fall River Arts and Cultural Commission, Creative Arts Network, Inc., and various other community groups host various types of events, festivals, and celebrations. And whereas these events are attended by residents, visitors, and business owners of the city of Fall River and help with economic development and tourism revenue within the community. And whereas neighborhood engagement has a positive impact on the greater Fall River area, and the efforts of these organizations should be admired and supported. Now therefore be it resolved that the Committee on Economic Development and Tourism convene with the administration's Event Resource Coordinator, representatives of the Fall River Arts and Cultural Commission, and representatives from the Creative Arts Network, Inc., to discuss upcoming events that are scheduled in the city of Fall River for the upcoming calendar year.
Is there a motion? Motion to adopt has been made by Councilor Kamara, seconded by Councilor Pereira. Discussion, the sponsor of the resolution. Councilor in seat 7, Councilor Pereira.
I think it's self-explanatory, just trying to get all these organizations to work together, to come together. I really dislike when I hear people say there's nothing to do in Fall River, when in fact there is a lot to do, but we don't know about it. So we're trying to figure out a way to get people to know of what is going on in the community. With that, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor in seat 4, Council Vice President Dion.
Yeah, just for clarification, who is the Arts and Culture Commission?
They're from Tracy Barboza.
Frack.
She's part of
Frack.
that.
Frack.
Okay, FRAC, okay, I
Frac.
understand it as FRAC, yeah. There are other organizations also, though, that do put on events, I believe. Is this open to all of them?
Open to everyone.
Okay, because it seemed to be specific, so I wasn't sure
No.
if it included anybody that wanted to.
We'll open to everyone, but we have to start with somewhere and branch out to people that know other people that are involved in this and try to bring them together.
All right, thank you. With that, I yield.
Anything further? Hearing none. Roll call.
On adopting the resolution, Councilors Kadim,
Yes.
Kamara,
Yes.
Canuel,
Yes.
Dion,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Peckham,
Yes.
Pereira,
Yes.
Reposo,
Yes.
President Ponti.
Yes.
Whereas it has been observed that street lighting throughout the city, particularly in the downtown district, is extremely low and inadequate. And whereas insufficient street lighting creates significant safety hazards for pedestrians and vehicular traffic by reducing visibility and increasing the risk of accidents. And whereas such conditions also contribute to an unsafe environment for residents, businesses, and visitors in the affected areas, potentially deterring economic activity and diminishing the overall quality of life in the downtown district. Now therefore be it resolved that the Committee on Public Safety convene with the administration, the Director of City Operations, and a representative of the Fall River Police Department to discuss improving street lighting to enhance public safety and promote a secure environment in the downtown district and throughout the city.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt the resolution has been made by Councilor Reposo, seconded by Councilor Peckham. Discussion, the sponsor of the resolution. Councilor in seat 6, Councilor Peckham.
Well, I filed this resolution, Council President, South Main Street, so two big things to cities are public safety and economic development. I go down to South Main Street now, it's dark. I know they're working on North Main Street. Chris Hathaway reached out to me a couple of days ago. He did say that he would like to increase the wattage or whatever it is on the lighting. But he will work with us on this resolution. When you go down there and it's dark, we're trying to bring businesses in. If you can't see and it's unsafe, it just doesn't make sense. We're starting off on the wrong foot. So I think elevating the lighting down there would help us out tremendously in both aspects, public safety and economic development. That I yield, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor in seat 3, Councilor Canuel.
Thank you. I'm certainly not opposed to this. I just want to bring to the councilor's attention that the FY27 capital plan had a line item, $200,000 for decorative lighting. I didn't know if that might address this or is planned to address this, and whether or not we'd still need the discussion given that item coming up. With that, I yield.
Thank you. Councilor in seat 7, Councilor Pereira.
Just, in talking about lighting, when John Perry was here and Chris Gallagher, we had Amoresco that did all the lightings around the city. you'd go down Bedford Street, Pleasant Street, the lights were really dim. Amoresco came, I think they contracted with Brian Bishop, and they had to redo the transmitters inside, the lights, and all of a sudden now, those lights, those LED lights are not really working all over the city. When they put them on, you'd go down Bedford Street, it was like you were at Logan Airport on the runway. It was bright. And now I see them going lower. I think there needs to be more of a study on these lights, what kind of lights we're using and what's going on, because it's through the whole city. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. Yield.
With that, I yield.
Counselor, if you can note that in your meeting.
Yeah,
when it passes.
absolutely,
Thank
Council
you.
President.
Counselor in seat 8, Counselor Reposo.
Yeah, and through you, Mr. President, to the Chairman of Public Safety, I think too, another area that should be noted is our waterfront area, especially the walkway from the Veterans area all the way down to Point Gloria. That particular section, for whatever reason, those poles are a hot mess, and some of them haven't been fixed yet. So at night, if you ever walk the boardwalk, you're walking in pitch darkness because those lights are unoperational. So through you to the Chairman, if we could also address that as well, it'd be great.
Thank
I
you,
yield.
Mr. Chair of Public Safety. You can take care of that for
Yes,
us, too.
sir.
Thank you. Counselor in seat 2, Counselor Kamara.
Yeah, it's a very good resolution. I'm going to support it. And Council seat 7 is right. Amoresco came down and it was cost-cutting measures. They were going to save us a lot of money, and now we know why they save us a lot of money, because we're not using a lot of electricity in the streets. It's a lot darker. So it's a good resolution. I'm looking forward to hearing what we can do about it to get up on structural improvements in there. But it's all throughout the city, Bedford Street, North Main, South Main. It's true. With that, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion on it? Hearing none, motion to adopt has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Whereas the mayor and city council requested through a home rule petition that the general core of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts enact legislation entitled, An Act Relative to the Appointment of the Police Chief in the City of Fall River, and whereas notification was received that this act was signed into law by the governor on January 29, 2026, now therefore be it resolved that the city council send a letter to the mayor requesting that a proposed ordinance making the necessary changes in the code of the City of Fall River for compliance and implementation of this new act be submitted for consideration by the Committee on Ordinances and Legislation. And be it further resolved that said letter also requests that a chief of police be appointed under these new regulations by September 30th, 2026.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt has been made by Counselor Reposo, seconded by Counselor Peckham. Discussion. The sponsor of the resolution, Counselor in seat 4, Council Vice President Dion.
Yeah, I wrote this resolution because way back, before this went through and we voted for the new chief, my whole thing then was having a process. We haven't had a process for years in terms of hiring a chief, and that's when the conversation came about to go back to civil service. The mayor agreed that, that he would send, that we could do it through the home petition to go back to civil service. So for me, we now have the process, and I'd like to see the process move forward. I'd like to see us finish following through. I put a date of September 30th, 2026, not because it's a concrete date, but I think we're all aware of when the present contract expires, but I think we're also cognizant of the fact that we're not going to get a chief on board next week. It's going to be a process. It's going to take months. We're going to have to go through an assessment center. There's going to have to be a committee to choose. So there's still steps. So that's why I put September as a target date, so that we can just get from point A, get to point B, and just follow through with the process and hopefully be on board. If it takes a little longer, fine. If it happens sooner, that's fine too. That was just a random date to allow time. With that, I yield.
Thank you. Counselor in seat 6, Counselor Peckham.
I think it's an excellent resolution to give the time frame. Is it possible for us to find out if they've started this process at all? Because I know that they're going to have to take a new chief's test. The MPTC is going to have to be notified that we're going that route. So can we check with the mayor to see if he's taken a step in this direction at all?
Point of information.
Counselor in seat 4.
So at our ordinance meeting, the Director of Human Resources mentioned that he had had a conversation with the mayor, and the mayor was prepared to ask for a test.
Okay. Well, can we find out if he did, or what his plan is as to asking for that test? Because I just don't want to push it. Like Council Dion said, this is a process. Once we go to look for the chief, I want to make sure the groundwork that's set up is actually in motion prior.
Madam Clerk, if you can please get that information to Councilor Peckham and then share it with the full body as soon as available, that'd be great.
Thank you. With that, I yield, Council
Anything
President.
further on this item? Hearing none, motion to adopt has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Whereas the response to any state of emergency within the city of Fall River should be guided by a clear, written, and directive plan to ensure coordinated and effective action. And whereas, as witnessed during the blizzard of 2026, the absence of a comprehensive strategic emergency response plan contributed to miscommunication and confusion among department heads, resulting in delays in responding to emergency situations. And whereas congregating all relevant department heads and key personnel in one centralized location during a declared state of emergency promotes faster decision-making, improved coordination, and a more productive and timely response to emergencies. Now therefore be it resolved that the Committee on Public Safety convene with the administration, the chiefs of the police department, fire department, emergency medical services department, and emergency management agency, along with the administrator of community utilities, the interim director of the Department of Community Maintenance, the director of city operations, and the director of traffic and parking to discuss, develop, and recommend a strategic emergency response plan for implementation. And be it further resolved that said plan shall include provisions for advancements and updates to the current centralized emergency operations center located at 140 Commerce Drive, where all listed department heads and key personnel are required to assemble and coordinate during any declared state of emergency. And be it further resolved that the Committee on Public Safety shall report back to the full council with its findings, recommendations, and a proposed timeline for implementation of the strategic emergency response plan no later than 90 days after the adoption of this resolution.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt the resolution has been made by Councilor Reposo, seconded by Councilor Peckham. Discussion, the sponsor of the resolution, Councilor in seat 6, Councilor Peckham.
Thank you, Council President. So with any tough situation or experience, you always critique after and you learn from them. 41 inches of snow, as Amir said earlier, it's an astronomical, it's a large amount. So to be perfectly prepared for something, you can't expect that. What I did notice during the storm was the lack of communication and the lack of emergency structure. With any emergency, there should be a checklist as to what you need to do, especially in this situation, to keep lives safe. We just didn't have that. We had directors at home, we had directors in wherever they were, they just weren't all in one room. So while they were trying to strategically plan for this blizzard, it was just constant phone calls to everywhere. So I think in the event of a state of emergency, to where it's called, all chiefs and pertinent department heads need to respond to one location with the mayor and make decisions from that location. With the Emergency Operations Center, I didn't even know we had one until the blizzard. A lot of people didn't because I asked. It's the classroom up at the fire headquarters. It's got a smart board on the wall. For a city our size, I can tell you, MEMA showed up and said that we need more. People from the National Guard said the same thing, that we should have more than what we have for a city of our size. So that's why I filed the resolution. That I yield. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further on the item? Motion to adopt has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Whereas the city of Fall River relies upon private snow and ice removal vendors to ensure the safe and timely clearing of public roadways, sidewalks, and municipal properties during winter weather events. And whereas the snow and ice removal account is one of the accounts legally permitted to operate under deficit spending authority due to the unpredictable nature and severity of winter storms. And whereas recent winter storm events have created financial obligations to snow removal vendors that must be satisfied in a timely manner. And whereas there were circumstances during prior storms in which vendors were not paid within an appropriate time frame, creating hardship for local contractors and small businesses who rely upon timely municipal payment. Now therefore be it resolved that once invoices are reviewed, approved, and processed through accounts payable, payment to snow and ice vendors shall be issued without delay, and that the administration shall take all necessary steps to ensure future snow and ice removal payments are made within 30 days of proper invoice submission and approval.
Motion to
Motion
adopt.
to adopt.
Motion to adopt has been made by Counselor Reposo, seconded by Counselor Peckham. Discussion? Hearing none. Counselor in seat one, do you want to speak on the resolution?
Yes,
Counselor in seat one, Counselor Kadim?
I'm sorry.
Counselor Kadim, be the sponsor of the resolution.
So I know Council President had put this forward too, but I just think it's important, and I know we do turn around our invoices pretty quickly, but I think with the concerns of maintaining and attracting new vendors to these snowstorms, I think it's important to get these invoices paid in a timely manner, especially with the amount of time and energy and effort that was put into the storm, over 36 hours of work that was going in. I would like to amend it that it's 30 days from the storm, as opposed to 30 days after the storm, so the beginning of the storm, just so that we can get that moving a little bit quicker. But outside of that, it's just really trying to get these individuals paid in a timely manner. I know we've got a lot of the invoices or estimates that were submitted to MEMA for reimbursement, so that should be underway, so there should be no reason as to why there's any real delay coming from the payment for all these plow vendors coming forward. So I know we have cash flow. There's no cash flow issues, so we've asked that question the last time around, so there shouldn't be really any excuse as to why we're not paying the vendors in a timely manner. So with the exception of them not submitting invoices, that's something separate, but I just want to make sure that it takes a priority and is moved forward as quickly as possible.
You have a motion, Counselor, to amend this item to make it 30 days from the storm?
Yep.
On the amendment, has been made by Counselor Kadim to amend it 30 days, seconded by Counselor Reposo. Discussion on the amendment?
I'll discuss the
Counselor in
amendment.
seat two, Counselor Kamara.
Yeah, I, just reading the resolution, I mentioned to my colleague that maybe we should do it instead of when they finally get to submit the bill, pay 30 days from there, that
There
we
you
should
go.
probably do it the day of the storm. But what we should do is just do it 30 days from when services were rendered. That way, there's no question as to when the storm was, when it was, and if someone's doing it. And we should amend it to include the words from 30 days, no later than 30 days from when services were rendered to the city. That way, whoever has to put the paperwork in place knows that he has to do it soon enough so this person can get paid from 30 days from when the services were rendered, whatever they did, and make it a lot clearer. But I agree with the resolution, it's a good resolution, and people do the work, they deserve to get paid in a timely fashion, so I'm gonna wholeheartedly support it. With
Thank
that
you. And-
amendment.
Thank you. And
To
just
the
so we're
amendment.
clear, the amendment does read 30 days from services rendered to the city of Fall River. That's the
We're not
motion
paying
on the
anybody else's
amendment.
bills.
Motion as the amendment. Counselor, you yield?
I yield, thank you, Council President.
Counselor in seat three, Counselor Kinnwell.
Thank you. I certainly support this resolution. I just don't think it goes far enough. I think that when we have a shortage of truck drivers, there are other communities paying faster, and I think to attract more trucks, I think we need to lower this timeframe from 30 days to half of that, potentially. So I'd like to see, this timeframe shorter. I don't know the feasibility of that, but I think that other communities are paying. That's the feedback I've heard out there, is that other communities are paying within maybe like a 2-week timeframe. I think we should challenge ourselves to go further than just average 30 days, particularly with a shortage, if we want to attract more. With that, I yield.
Thank you. Counselor in seat seven, Counselor Pereira.
I just don't even think it should be from the time the services are rendered. So there's a snowstorm today on Tuesday. I render the services to the city. So I should get paid 30 days from today. It should be from when they submit an invoice. It should be 30 days from when you submit an invoice.
They don't submit invoices, people do the paperwork and submit the paperwork. What if the guy's
They
is
still
delayed
have
doing
to,
it?
no, they still have to submit their bill with the hours that they have. That's what I was told. And as soon as they submit whatever it is, we had that problem with Brian Bishop, remember? That there was a whole thing of when things were submitted on a timely
Point of
basis.
clarification.
Your point of
So maybe
clarification,
you
Counselor in
need to
seat
look at
three, your
that.
point of
Yeah,
clarification.
point of clarification. At a meeting of the Subcommittee on Public Works, it was told to us that the sector leaders are the ones submitting the hours for payment. They don't submit invoices, the private vendors.
Thank you. I don't know how that makes any sense.
Well, because they,
Counselor in seat seven has the floor.
No, I'll yield to Counselor in seat number 2.
Thank you. Counselor in seat two, Counselor Kamara.
right, so the sector leaders hire the people to do the work, they know when they're gonna do it, they tell them where to go, they submit the paperwork, they put the paperwork in so that people can get paid. they don't submit, the regular vendors don't submit individual paperwork for what they're doing. They're already registered, we have all their information, the sector leaders know how many hours they're working, what, they document it, and they submit it, gets paid. My only the reasoning for when services were rendered is that what if the sector leader takes too long to submit the paperwork? Now it's like 30 days from when the paperwork's submitted, that's the original resolution.
Yeah.
Right, so let's just make it so that if I'm working on February 2nd, I ought to get paid on March 2nd, no later than that. 30 days is very reasonable. If we can pay them sooner if we want to, but no later than 30 days, I think is very reasonable for the municipality and the vendor, and that's common practice throughout the state. We can pay them in 2 weeks if we wanted to, or 1 day, but I think to make it fair for everybody, we should do it that way. With that, I yield.
Thank you, Councilman seat 7, Council Pereira.
I just think I need some clarification on that, because what I'm hearing is that the sector leader just goes around in a truck to make sure that the people that are plowing in good faith, so they're not with that person all the time. I'm told that if I'm gonna plow for the city, I have a plow, I'm plowing for the city, I come in, I'm on the road, where do I go, what section do I go? I have to submit to them, this is what I did, I work from this time to this time. So I think before we do anything with this, I would just like clarification on that. And everybody seems to have a different opinion. I think it's a good resolution. People should get paid right away. And because before, people weren't getting paid, and then we have people who don't want to plow for us. But, I mean, I'll support it, but I think we need to have, I would just like some clarification on it. If you could check, Mr. President?
Sure.
On the clarification, and whatever it is, if it is that they submit it, then I think you should bring it back, and it should be from the date that it's submitted. If not, and it's somebody else that's doing it, then the date of service is right.
Madam Clerk, if you can note that for the record, we'll get back to our colleague tomorrow. You
With
yield,
that, I
Councilor?
yield.
Thank you. Councilman seat 1, Councilor Kadim.
Thank you. So I was just going to say, I would just hope the colleagues support this, because if we push this
Yeah.
off for another 2 weeks, then there's no way they're going to get paid within 30 days.
No,
So
no,
I
I'll
think
support.
that's the part of it. But I think my colleague brings up a good point, that in terms of just for the verification, the invoices that are being submitted, if we can get clarification, because just to have sector leaders submit, I guess the work that was done, I think you would have to have some type of invoice that's submitted from each vendor saying the equipment that they use. I mean, because some vendors have 4 or 5 people working under them. They've got loaders, they've got dump trucks, they've got pickup trucks. So there should be some type of checks and balance in terms of what's being submitted. So I would imagine that an invoice needs to be submitted to the city so that it can be verified that, one, they worked that many hours, that they did actually have that equipment that was there. Because if not, what you're going to have happen, and which has always been the concern in the past, is that you bring on privates, they plow, there's no GPS, right? So you think they're out there plowing, they cut off their route, they go plow this driveway, they in this plaza, they're doing this, then they come back, and it's like, okay, well, I worked the entire storm. Well, did you? So that, I think there's got to be some verification in terms of that. So I just want to make sure that invoices are being submitted, and that we do have the invoices in case an audit needs to be done. Because if you recall, the last time we were trying to look for audits, there wasn't enough documentation there to support whether or not vendors were actually in the routes that they were supposed to be with the equipment. We were hearing that people will put in additional equipment that were never even used by the city. So I think from an auditing standpoint, we should just know exactly what the process is for this. So I don't disagree with my colleague. I just think this resolution should move forward, just to urge the administration to make sure that they're paying the vendors on a timely basis. That's all. And I don't disagree with my colleague in C3 that there are communities that are paying sooner. I think the soonest you'll see that is probably a 2-week turnaround time, or a week and a half. But like, if we can strive to do that, then that's great. I think what we're trying to do is make sure that it doesn't extend past 30 days. So with that, I yield.
Thank you. Councilman seat 4, Council Vice President Dion.
Yeah, so I think after listening to everybody, we could amend it to no later than 30 days after services are rendered. So that way, that allows for the shorter time period, but it still puts a cutoff of 30 days.
Second.
Motion to amend the amendment has been made by Councilor Dion, seconded by Councilor Kamara. Discussion on the amendment of the amendment, where it will read no later than 30 days from services rendered to the city of Fall River. Councilman seat 2, Councilor Kamara.
Yeah, I'm not going to discuss the amendment, I agree with it, I'm going to support it. I just want to make one note, my colleague in C3 is absolutely correct. At the meeting of transportation, they did tell us that whether it's the sector leader or the department head, someone submits the hours that the people are working, and it's not something that they submit invoices. So it was on the meeting, they said it, he's not making it up. I heard it as well. So we'll have to go back and see exactly what they said and what they meant by that. With that, I yield, thank you.
Thank you. Motion to adopt as amended would be appropriate? Motion
Second.
to adopt as amended has been made by Counselor Dion, seconded by Counselor Peckham. Just to be clear, the amendment is no later than 30 days from services rendered to the city of Fall River. Motion to adopt as amended. Any further discussion? Counselor in seat 3, Counselor Canuel.
I still would love to see us adopt language that references a target of 15 days, let's say, with a maximum of 30 days so that we can put a stronger focus on paying these sooner.
That's what we're doing.
Is that in the form of an amendment,
Make a
Counselor?
motion to amend.
I'll make a motion to amend
Motion
that.
to amend.
I'm just curious, point of clarification, how is that different than what we're supporting? Maximum of 30 days?
He just wants to see if it can be done within 15 days. You want to clarify that, Counselor?
Yeah, I want to see the finance team target to make these payments within 2 weeks with a maximum of 30 days. But I really want to see us move from a 30-day window to a 15-day window. And I think if we adopt it the way it's proposed, I think they're just going to be looking at, oh, we have 30 days to do it. And I think we need to be better than that to attract more vendors.
So your amendment is to urge the administration to target a 15-day payment with a maximum of 30.
Correct.
There's a motion to amend has been made by Counselor Canuel. Is there a second to that amendment?
Second. I'll second
Seconded
it.
by Counselor Pereira. Is there
They may
discussion
not
on
do
the
it, but
amendment?
Let's give them
Let's make it 1 week.
gumption to do it.
Counselor in seat 1, Counselor Kadim.
All I want to say is the 2-week turnaround time is probably a standard turnaround time in terms of if you go through the actual process, right? You got to submit an invoice, it's got to be reviewed, it's got to be put into Munis. It goes through the auditor's office, then it gets put onto a warrant, bill schedule, it gets signed by the mayor's office. So that typically is where, a 2-week turnaround time gets, a week and a half, 2 weeks. That's what you would expect. So I guess if we want to say, we want to add that, I guess I'm not opposed to it, but that's the standard, right? And I think we're all just like, I don't know, dissecting this way too much, right? The intent of this was to make sure people are paid no later than 30 days, right? So we are guaranteeing that they are not waiting 40, 45 days, 60, 90 days like they have been in the past, right? When we had cash flow issues, so that the turnaround time is, if they can do it in 2 days, God bless them, let's walk it through. I don't care how fast they get paid, I just want to make sure that we're not later than 30 days. So I'll support it. I just think we're dissecting this way too much, overthinking.
Totally agree. Thank you, Counselor. Motion to adopt as amended, on the amendment, rather. Is there any further discussion on the amendment by Counselor Canuel in seat 3?
No.
Let's vote on that item. Motion to amend has been made and seconded. Hearing no further discussions on the amendment? Great. Motion to adopt as amended would be appropriate. Has been made by Counselor Reposo, seconded by Counselor Canuel. Is there discussion on the amendment in the amendments?
No.
Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Don't ask me to co-sponsor another resolution with you. Okay.
Whereas the Massachusetts Assisted Living Residences Commission report,
When are we getting
which was
that?
resubmitted to the state legislature on January 12, 2026, reviewed and strengthened recommendations for safety regulations related to assisted living residences across the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And whereas the Massachusetts Assisted Living Residences Commission issued comprehensive recommendations designed to improve informed decision-making in relation to resident needs, provide more accessibility to public information and transparency, increase necessary staffing levels, and strengthen emergency preparedness and safety. And whereas the safety of assisted living residents, staff, and all first responders, including the Fall River Fire Department, Police Department, Emergency Medical Services, and Emergency Medical Agency, who serve these facilities in times of emergency and are of utmost importance to the city of Fall River. And whereas these recommendations must be presented and voted upon by the House of Representatives and Senate of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, now therefore be it resolved that the City Council submit a letter of support to the Massachusetts Senate and House of Representatives to urge the advancement and adoption of this legislation that will implement the recommendations within the Massachusetts Assisted Living Residences Commission report to ensure increased safety for assisted living facility residents, staff, and all first responders throughout the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt has
Second.
been made by Counselor Reposo, seconded by Counselor Hart. Discussion, the chairman of the ordinance committee, Counselor in seat 8, Counselor Reposo.
Thank you, Mr. President. So just for the council's edification, March 4th, the report that was referenced in the Committee on Ordinances and Legislation meeting was emailed to all of us. So if you do get a minute to review it in detail, it is a pretty good report outlining some particular recommendations that definitely are going to be at the state level. So if you have a moment to review those, but definitely, I ask my colleagues to support this, to get that letter of support to the state delegation and those above us. I yield.
Thank you. And just for the recollection of the public, this is a resolution that came from the body on the Committee on Ordinances and Legislation. Right? Any discussion? Any further discussion? Hearing none. Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Whereas the redevelopment of the Route 79 Duval Street corridor is crucial to the economic growth of the city of Fall River, and whereas upgrades and renovations to several other locations throughout the city, such as Pleasant Street and North Main Street, will increase the financial incomes of small businesses, restaurants, and event spaces, and whereas most municipalities have a standalone city planner to assist with the development of renovation, construction, and improvement plans throughout the community, as well as programs for use of city-owned land and facilities. And whereas currently the tasks of both the engineering department and the planning division are assigned to one individual who performs the duties to the best of their ability, but is limited with the ability to solely work on development and improvement plans that would benefit the city of Fall River financially, with tourism and investment. Now therefore be it resolved that the Committee on Economic Development and Tourism convene with the administration to discuss the potential financial benefits of increased development within the city of Fall River that would result from the creation of a separate city planner position.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion to adopt has been made by Counselor Pereira. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Counselor Hart. Discussion, the sponsor of the resolution, Counselor in seat 7, Counselor Pereira.
I mean, I just think we have so much development to do in Fall River. North Main Street, Pleasant Street. How long has that building been on Rodman and, Columbia Street? It's ridiculous. There's so many things going on. Do we have any literature on how many empty storefronts in the Flint? What's the square footage? Do they have Wi-Fi? Do they have handicap bathrooms? We don't know. And I think it's unfair to have one individual do planning, do engineering, do conservation, and have traffic under their belts. If you look at all of the other communities in the Commonwealth, they have planning directors, planning groups, planning teams. They have deputy planners. I mean, it's just taking us too long to get things done. The mayor talks about, a lot of this development that's going on, things that are going on Columbia Street. Mike Dion's office is dealing with that. Something, a parking lot over here, somebody else's. I just think we need to give people more resources to do the job that they have to do. You can't expect one person to do everything and do it well. It's not right. And I think that, through the years, we've gotten rid of a position and put that person handling two positions, it's not fair. And I just think it needs to be discussed, and I bring it to economic development and tourism and see what we can do in economic development about looking at that. The person needs help, let's get help. That's my only thing. With that, I yield.
Thank you, Counselor in seat 1, Counselor Kadim.
Thank you. I appreciate my colleague's resolution. One, can't support it. I don't know where the Committee on Economic Development and Tourism would have any real authority to have a conversation about the city planner and the engineer. I think when we start looking at the city planner and engineer, the amount of money that is being saved, and I don't disagree, it's currently two separate positions now. So if the mayor decides that he wants to go fill the engineer's position, he should fill the engineer's position. But at the end of the day, Dan Aguirre is getting paid 7 extra hours a week to fulfill the engineer's position. And he's doing a phenomenal job in my mind. There's no backlog in plan review documentation. When we start talking about economic development, I mean, the mayor just gave a State of the City address tonight, and he talked about the urban renewal plan that's taking place on Pleasant Street. That was overseen by Dan Aguirre. They got roadway safety audits that are being conducted by Serped, which is in the heart of Pleasant Street. So that's being identified, again, led by Dan Aguirre. We have the Alden Street Reconstruction Project, which is getting millions of dollars in federal money that's going through just infrastructure in the roads, and then also conversations with Hathaway for lighting and electric concerns that they have in that area. So when we start talking about department heads, I mean, you want to talk about economic development. There are department heads who are not delivering. I can go down the list of things that Mr. Aguirre has delivered on, right? There are department heads who are legitimately impacting and holding up economic development because they're not doing their job. And we've had those conversations. So if we want to have a conversation about economic development and holding people accountable, I don't know that we go for the person that's providing the most productivity, you know, for projects and economic development. I sit on, I'm a Serped commissioner, and I'll tell you, as a Serped commissioner for Seekonk, Dan Aguirre advocates for more money coming out of Serped, okay? And there are a number of communities that are sitting there on a monthly basis, listening to projects, and the projects that I constantly hear time and time again is what Fall River is doing with money coming from Serped. And again, that's Dan Aguirre. Dan Aguirre is serving on the open space and recreational plan. I can tell you a department head who manages open space and recreation that is not serving on that committee, right? So to me, I just won't support it. If we want to talk about economic development, we want to talk about tourism, I'm all for that. I don't know that having a conversation about a planner and an engineer is the conversation, because that's not what's driving it. There's a lot that's being done, and if just a quarter of our department heads would produce what Mr. Aguirre is producing, then we'd be in good shape, right? So I think that from an economic development standpoint, if that's what we want to talk about, let's really talk about economic development and what we need to do, because there are a number of projects that this council has talked about time and time again that still have not been completed, which, you know, being part of the real estate committee, I know we have a meeting coming up, but we'll get those projects back on schedule. But if we want to talk about trying to get additional resources for the Flint and North Main Street, then I'll support that every single day. And you know, in terms of, we want to talk about a tourism director and things of that nature, I'm good with that. But I don't know how this ties in with the city planner and engineer. I just don't see it. You know, and when we start talking about the building on Rodman Street, I think it's more tax title, right? That's tax title. And we can have conversations about why there's property that's just sitting there for quite some time that we could have been moving around. I mean, you know, I know the EMS director is coming down to have a conversation about a potential tax title parcel that they're looking to purchase, right? So those are conversations I'm willing to have. I think it's just directed in the wrong, to the wrong individual. I don't disagree if we feel like, you know, he needs the support, and if he needs the support, then I'd support him in terms of getting the additional resources that he needs. I know he has an assistant planner, so he's mentoring an assistant planner on top of it all. So there are things that are getting done, but I respect my colleague's resolution. I just don't know that this is the way to go about it. That's just my opinion. With that, I yield.
Councilor in seat 2, Councilor Kamara.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I agree with both my colleagues. I don't think this should go in the Economic Development Committee. I think it should go in the Finance Committee. I agree with my colleagues saying that Mr. Aguirre is doing a phenomenal job. My concern is, I think we should discuss it, because what happens if Mr. Aguirre decides another committee's going to pay him more money to do one of the jobs, and he'll have less to do and make more money, as other departments have up and left? Now what do? Are we going to be looking for 2 people at once, 3 people? So we should be having, as we always had, a planner and an engineer, and say, listen, how long are we going to have Mr. Aguirre around for? I know he's probably too young to retire, thank God, but what if he just says someday, hey, I'm up and leaving? Now we're in a situation where, well, we took advantage of him per se for all these years that we were only paying him 7 more hours of work to fill 2 positions. What if he decides tomorrow he wants to change that and make more money doing one of the jobs somewhere else? Now where are we at? We never had a discussion about what's going to happen when he leaves. So I think we should have it a committee on finance, and I'll amend it to have the discussion committee on finance, and let's see what the administration's idea is and what we're looking to do with this long-term or short-term or whatever. But he does do a lot of good things for the city, and he does, you know, yeoman's work, which I appreciate. But I think it's not something that we shouldn't look at to see what's going to happen or what should happen. The city should have a system in place, not one individual that can do 3 or 4 jobs because he's been around and knows how to do them well. We should just have the meeting to discuss what the plan for the future is, in case something does go wrong. heaven forbid he gets hit by a bus, like I've been told many times, you never know what's gonna happen tomorrow, right? I mean, so what do we do then? So,
I make a motion that, I'll amend this, make a motion that it go to the Committee on Finance. I just think we need to talk about it. So I make a motion that the resolution go to the Committee on Finance.
second,
Motion to amend the resolution for it to go to the Committee on Finance has been made by Councilor Pereira, seconded by Councilor Kamara. Discussion on the amendment.
Roll call.
On the amendment, Councilor, you have a discussion, Councilor?
Well, if I agree that maybe it should go to Finance, but I don't want people to think that it's anything about the way Dan Aguirre is doing all of this. I think he's holding on and doing as much as he can, but I think it's too much for one person. And I'm just tired of seeing buildings that are empty and we're not motivated enough to do anything, or storefronts. And I just want to know what we're doing and who's in charge of that and who we can call if there's somebody that wants a building. And I don't know. So that's the only reason, and that's why I say, fine, let it go to Finance Committee. With that, I yield.
On the amendment, any further discussions on the amendment to refer the items to Committee on Finance? Hearing none, roll call on the amendment only.
Councilors Kadim,
No.
Kamara,
yes,
Canuel,
Yes.
Dion,
No.
Hart,
Yes.
Peckham,
No.
Pereira,
Yes.
Reposo,
No.
President Ponti.
No.
Motion
What's the score?
4 yeas, 5 nays, motion fails.
5 nays. We're not going to talk about it in Finance, so just let things continue the way they go.
Is there a motion to act on the resolution?
There's one on the floor, Mr. President.
Yep, the motion to adopt has been made and seconded. Hearing no further discussions, roll call.
on the motion.
Councilor in seat one on the motion?
So I agree with my colleague in C1. Like I said, I agree with both of them. I don't think we should do it in economic development tourism, so I'm not going to support it, although I think the discussion should be had. And it's, again, no knock on any individual. With that, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you. Hearing no further discussion, roll call.
On the adoption of the resolution, Councilors Kadim,
No.
Kamara,
No,
Canuel,
No.
Dion,
No.
Hart,
No.
Peckham,
No.
Pereira,
No.
Reposo,
Nope.
President Ponti.
No.
So much for economic development. It's all over.
that's about, yeah, barking up the wrong tree.
Whereas there have been ongoing discussions regarding the school committee's intention to terminate the employment of Superintendent Tracy Curley, PhD of Fall River Public Schools without cause, and whereas the Fall River Educators Association has recently gone on record in opposition to the superintendent's termination, now therefore be it resolved that the City Council formally oppose the termination of the Superintendent of Fall River Public Schools and encourage the school committee to allow for her continued tenure to benefit the well-being of the students, parents, and teachers.
Is there a motion?
Motion?
Motion to adopt has been made by Councilor Hart. Is there a second?
Second.
Second,
Seconded by Councilor Kamara. Discussion, the sponsor of the resolution. Councilor in seat seven, Councilor Pereira.
Oh, I just think the door's been opened when this council, I believe it was Councilor Peckham and yourself and Councilor Kadim, when we took a no confidence vote on Superintendent Malone. And at that time, I thought, stay in our lane, but you opened the door. And I just think, the course of this, and you heard the mayor talk about the gains that the school department has made. I just think to send a letter, obviously, the school department's gonna vote the way they want. But I would hope that the city council would oppose the termination of the superintendent for no cause. With that, I yield.
Thank you,
Roll
Councilor in
call.
seat three, Councilor Canuel.
Yeah, I understand what Council Pereira is saying about previous, but I think we need to stay in our lane here. I'm not going to support this because I think this is a decision for the school committee that they should be making for themselves. They should be telling us what to do, and I don't think we should be telling them what to do. I'm not in a position to make an evaluation of the superintendent, and with that, I can't support this. I yield.
Thank you, Councilor in seat eight, Councilor Reposo.
I'll second my colleague's comments. It's out of our lane, and honestly, I don't think it's appropriate for this, so I'm not gonna support it either. I yield.
Thank you, Councilor in seat six, Councilor Peckham.
So to comment on Council Pereira's comments, the last superintendent situation and this situation are not similar. They're different. The last superintendent, I had constituents reaching out to me directly due to abusive practice within the school department towards females. So that brought me within that purview instantly by them contacting me. So that's why that resolution was filed back then. This situation, is there a council here that's received complaints?
I have received calls.
So, what were the calls? They were calling you in favor of Tracy Curley?
Yes. Can I speak?
Let the counselor finish.
All right, so they're just two totally, we were here, I was there on the last council, these are two totally different situations. I don't think we should be speaking up now with Tracy Curley because it's a different situation than Matt Malone, in my opinion. So I'm not going to support this either. With that, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you. Council in seat 4, Councilor Dion.
Yeah, I'm not supporting this either. Again, it's true. When it was Superintendent Malone, I have the article here that the council's vote was mostly symbolic because we had no authority. There wasn't anything that we legitimately could do. This resolution is calling for a formal opposition. Superintendent Malone made a formal statement. I have acknowledged that I must change my style, and therefore I have committed to the work of being less forceful, less aggressive, and more sensitive to the feelings of others in my interactions. He was reprimanded. In his statement, he said he deserved to be reprimanded. I don't see that Superintendent Curley is being accused of the things that Superintendent Malone was. I don't know both sides of the story. I know they went into executive session. I don't know what went on in executive session. To me, this is more of a personnel matter. The school committee has the authority to hire and fire. The woman signed the contract she signed. Both sides are gonna have their discussions. I don't know what they're doing. I can't stand for or against because I don't have the information. And I think in this particular situation, we are out of our lane. And to make it formal, I just don't feel it's right. And with that, I yield.
Thank you. Council in seat 8, Councilor Reposo.
Yeah, my only comment's going to be, there's conversations of possible litigation between both sides. So again, I would caution our colleagues to even go further with this at this point and just call it a day. I yield.
Anything further for discussion? Council in seat 2, Councilor Camara.
Yeah, I'm not afraid to say that I wholeheartedly support Superintendent Curley. I don't know why the school committee is doing what they're doing. I was not here part of the Malone situation. We hear a lot of things from a lot of different people, but I know this individual, and I think that we vote on their budget, whether that matters or not, doesn't matter in this thing. All this resolution is saying is formally or not to oppose the termination, and I cannot sit here and say that I am in favor of a termination because I'm not. I oppose it. Everyone who's ever asked me what I think about her and the job she's doing and the improvements she's made, I support wholeheartedly. And I am opposed to her termination. I have no problem voting for a resolution, whether it's going to mean anything or not. My point of view, I support her wholeheartedly, and I will support the resolution. With that, I yield. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Anything further? Council in seat 7, Councilor Pereira.
Is there an opposition to the word formally? Can we just put a letter to suggest that they not terminate her? It's gonna cost us money, I would assume. Gotta pay something. But I personally think that she's doing a good job, and when Councilor Peckham said, has anybody gotten calls? Yes, I've gotten several calls. And people are wondering, why are they doing this? Why are they doing this? You had the DOE at the last meeting, just because of the way meetings are run. Come on. And we're going to sit here and, bury our heads in the sand. We have nothing. That's fine. Do a roll call vote. Whoever votes for it. Whoever doesn't, doesn't. But I know in my heart and soul I'm making the best decision that I can make, making my feelings known on this. I yield.
Thank you, Councilor. Council in seat 1, Councilor Kadim.
Thank you. So I don't think anybody's burying their head in the sands. I do think, I'm going to reiterate what was said. There's two different discussions with Matt Malone. There was sexual harassment claims, bullying claims. There was significant lawsuits that were coming in. Quite frankly, the school committee was doing nothing about it, nothing. And talk about a number of conflict of interests with the membership of that committee at that time was just running rampant, right? So we took a stance because there was no other choice. Here, we've got a situation which, I don't disagree, from a public standpoint, it's not a good look, right? But again, we're not on the school committee, right? We don't have, at least I'm gonna speak for myself. I'm not on the school committee, I don't know the interactions. I don't know Tracy personally. I don't have enough information to say whether or not she's doing a good job or not doing a good job, but my colleague did state something that's important. The school committee's, one of the school committee's main authority is to hire and fire a superintendent. There's a contract that's put forward. In there's a clause to terminate for no cause. Now, whether or not they have cause, I'm not sure. If that fails, maybe they go for a full cause or just cause. I don't know where it stands. And again, based on the relationship that's going back and forth with the school committee and the superintendent, I don't even know if the superintendent even wants to stick around, right? We don't know that. So there could be discussions in executive session that we're not privy to. I'm sure there's a number of day-to-day operations that we're not privy to. And I've said this before, that it's just unfortunate when people have contracts that they get terminated midterm of a contract, but the language is what the language is. We all run the risk when we have those type of contracts that, if you get a change in leadership, then if you've got language in there that you can get terminated for no cause, you run the risk of getting terminated if the votes are there. What I would say is that, from an educational standpoint, is she doing a good job? I don't know. My colleague to my left said she is. Okay, that's his opinion. But what I would say is that, being a superintendent is not just about education, it's about managing a district, right? So some of the concerns and complaints I think are valid that I've heard from the school committee in terms of the operation of the school department. I know there are things that have taken place that are direct conflicts of interest, and people could potentially be fined $10,000, right? So that's up to the school committee to make that determination. And I think some of that all predates Tracy, to be honest with you, right? So I just get that out there. But there is a systemic issue that's taking place on the schools, and there's no question about it. But from an educational standpoint, I can't really speak to it because I haven't looked at the graduation rates. I haven't looked at her plans and goals and objectives for the district and whether or not she's meeting them. I can't evaluate the superintendent. So that really is up to the school committee to make that determination. I'm just hoping that it can be done in a professional manner, and whatever happens. That's where I stand on that. With that, I yield.
Thank you. Councilor in seat 5, Councilor Hart.
Thank you, Mr. President. Obviously, I was on the school committee with, when Superintendent Malone was fired. In fact, I think that myself and one other colleague were the only ones to come out and, request that he be fired. And no, it's not even similar to what we did, what we decided on with Malone. But also with this, I don't know what's going on in an executive session. I have no idea. I don't know what the reasoning is. I do know it's so far it's no cause. That's what it is in the public. And I just think personally that's wrong. So I'm going to be real quick, but I just don't see the problem in supporting a resolution like this when it looks like, at least publicly and on the surface, that she's getting reprimanded or potentially fired for, I don't know why. So we don't know why. So again, that's for the school committee to decide. Their job is to hire and fire. I'm just going to go on record that I think Dr. Curley's doing a good job, and I support this resolution. I yield.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor in seat 4, Council Vice President Dion.
Yeah. So again, there's two sides to a story, and we don't really know any side to the story. There's things going on in executive session that we are not, anybody is entitled to their opinion as an individual. I don't even think the issue is she doing a good job, not doing a good job? I don't know what the issue is, because we're not involved in the discussion. I think if anybody wants to but I do take exception to that our heads are in the sand. Our heads are not in the sand. I'm choosing not to comment on something that I don't know anything about. And I really struggled with whether I was going to do this or not, and I feel now that I have to, because the counselor in seat 7 gave the best reasons why we should not do this tonight. if anybody can hear
That's
this.
just not how I communicate with people. I pick up a phone, I call somebody, there's a conversation. Not that I'm against social media, but that's just not me. But I will tell you all that I did teach in the Fall River school system many, many moons ago. And then the rest of my career was doing investigations. Whether it was for DCF, whether it was for the district attorney's office. And when I did an investigation, I needed to hear both sides of a story.
Point
What's
of order.
upsetting me
Counselor, your
is
point of
We're
order.
not doing an investigation.
everything
It's a
I've
resolution
read,
that says whether you support the termination or not. I don't need to hear a video of someone saying when they were.
Because this is her.
But that's
pen.
different,
Counselor, your
Counselor.
point,
No, it's
I'll
not
let the colleague finish his point of order quickly. Your point of order, finish.
We're not talking about someone doing an investigation. What I'm hearing is comments about when I do an investigation. It has nothing to do with the resolution I see before me. That's my point of order.
Thank you. Counselor in seat 4, you have the floor.
Can't take it.
So if you
I'll
listen
say
to this
something.
further, in the end result, the comment is, I don't know both sides of the story, so I can't support this. I'll vote present. So I'm simply saying, your opinion then is my opinion today, and your opinion then actually goes against your own resolution, because
I
we
didn't
don't
vote.
know both sides of
But
the
I
story.
didn't vote
One
present.
person at a
I
time.
didn't vote
One
present.
person.
We all
Point of order,
voted.
Mr. President.
One person at a time. Counselor Hart, your point of order.
Move the question.
Is there a motion to move the question?
No, can I, wait a minute,
No.
let me say
Okay.
something before we move the
Hold on,
question.
hold on, hold on.
I have
hold
my
on.
hand up.
Hold
Hold
on, stop,
ahead.
stop. Our colleague in seat 4 has the floor. I want you to finish. I will entertain other discussions after she's done.
Thank you.
Let's respect our colleague, please.
So I won't continue with the recording. However, it's as I stated. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. I'm not going against or for Superintendent Curley. I don't think in this situation that I feel that I have to do that. And that's not having your head in the sand. That's saying it isn't any of my business. It's a personnel decision. It's in their purview, not mine. Do I think she's a bad person? No, I'll tell you no, I don't think she's a bad person. Can I rate her performance? No, I can't. Not in my purview. That's all I'm saying. So, and you said, I always need to know both sides of the situation, both sides of the story, because the truth is somewhere in the middle, correct? And you've said that many times.
Correct.
So, nothing negative, nothing against you, just my words today are your words back then. It had nothing. So, no, I am not supporting it, and I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor in seat 7, Counselor Pereira.
I think Councilor in seat 2 had his hand up before me.
I'm recognizing you first, Counselor.
Okay. And I'm not meaning to say that everybody else has their head in the sand. Maybe I want to say that I don't want to feel like I'm putting my head in the sand. This is a hot issue, and, here you have the union, the teachers' union, endorsing and supporting for the superintendent to stay there. I don't think it's good for the education of the children to have somebody ripped out mid-year. Those are some of the issues that I have. And I have had calls from people and said, why didn't the council do a resolution like they did before? And this is not an investigation. If you don't want to vote for it, don't vote for it. But I think she's doing a good job. You heard the mayor say the progress that has occurred, the attendance being up, the graduation rate being up. If there's other things going on, obviously, they have to be resolved. But a lot of what comes up is stuff that happened before she was even superintendent. And I don't think that's fair. So that's the resolution I put in. You want to vote for it, you vote for it. You don't want to vote for it, vote no, vote present. I don't really care. But I'm taking a stand on this one. With that, I yield, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor in seat 2, Counselor Kamara.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I've often heard it said in this council chamber, it'd be an easy job if you didn't have to vote. And that applies to everybody, right? I don't disrespect or disagree with anyone who doesn't want to take a stand. I respect all my colleagues. I respect my colleagues on the school committee. But what I'm looking at here is I personally, as a person, someone who is a resident of this community, sits on this board and votes on a budget that is put together basically by the superintendent and presented to the school committee and voted upon. I think we're making a mistake. Nothing I can do about it. They have the right to do what they're doing. I respect whatever decision they make in the long run. But I am opposed to it. I think you're losing a good individual if you do lose her, and my colleague in C1's right. She might want to leave, might not want to put up with this. Just as I said earlier, other department heads might want to leave. If they can do better somewhere else, they're going to get up and go. But for me to stand here and have this resolution in front of me and say, well, you know, I don't know how I feel. I do know how I feel. I think the city is going to be in a worse off position, and that's my opinion only, by not having her at the superintendent. I think she's come up through the ranks. She's a Fall River resident. She's been here. She's done everything that you would want someone to do. And I see progress. Now, I could be wrong, but it's what I see. So my colleagues could be right. Who knows? School committee members could be right. Maybe I'm wrong. But I am not going to stand here and say that I am not opposed to it. I am opposed to it. So I'm opposed to her termination. I'm going to vote to keep her there as much as I can. Whether it matters or not, it's just the way I feel. With that, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor in seat 8, Counselor Reposo.
So, very simple to me is that the last thing I'd want is the school committee to send us a letter to say we should terminate somebody in city government. It doesn't make any sense. Again, you're not in your purview. And again, I'm going to repeat myself, that there is conversation of litigation from both sides. I think it's a dangerous precedent that we get involved in this conversation to begin with. I yield.
Anything further?
Roll call.
On the motion before us to adopt that has been made and seconded, roll call.
Counselor Skadim, Kamara,
Yes.
Canuel,
No.
Dion,
No.
Hart,
Yes.
Peckham,
No.
Pereira,
Yes.
Reposo,
No.
President Ponti.
No.
Motion fails.
Next order of business, Madam Clerk. Final resolution tonight.
Whereas members of the City Council have received inquiries and concerns from members of the public regarding expenditures associated with veteran services, and whereas transparency and accountability in the use of public funds is essential to maintaining public trust, and whereas the City Council seeks to review expenditures to ensure that all funds have been utilized appropriately and in accordance with applicable laws and policies, and whereas this request is not related to or intended to review individual veteran benefits, but rather expenditures related to operations, services, reimbursements, or other payments made through veteran services accounts. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council hereby requests that the administration provide the City Council with a report detailing all expenditures not related to veteran benefits for fiscal years 2020 through 2024, and be it further resolved that the report shall include a list of all vendors and individuals who receive payments for services, reimbursements, or other expenses paid through veteran services accounts during fiscal years 2020 through 2024, the amount of each payment and the date of payment, the purpose or description of the expense where available, identification of the account or funding source from which the payment was made, and be it further resolved that this request specifically excludes all payments related to direct veteran benefits and any information protected by privacy laws.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt has been made by
Second.
Counselor Peckham, seconded by Counselor Reposo. Discussion, the sponsor of the resolution. The sponsor of the resolution, Counselor in seat 1, Counselor Kadim, you care to speak on this?
Thank you, Mr. President. So I know there's, my colleagues have received some complaints. A couple of years back, I was getting more and more complaints about expenses that were being made from the veterans account. So I'm not looking for any information from veterans that are receiving benefits, but the actual expenses for them. So I do want to amend my motion from fiscal year 2020. I want to bring it up to fiscal year from 2020 to 2026, as opposed to cutting it off at 2024. And at the end of the day, I just want to put to rest some of the concerns that I'm hearing from individuals about how expenses or what type of expenses are being paid. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to find or what we're going to find if the information comes out. I just want to be able to get the information and either say, yes, there is a concern, or no, there isn't a concern. It's just a lot of noise right now in terms of what's going on. So that's why I filed the resolution. And if there is any concerns, then we can address it as a council to make sure that the money that's being appropriated to veterans are going for the purposes that we've appropriated it for, to benefit the veterans throughout the city. So with that, I'd like to make a motion to amend fiscal year 2020 through 2024
Second.
to 2026.
Second.
Motion to amend the resolution as it's read for fiscal years 2022 through 2026 has been made by Counselor Kadim, seconded by Counselor Kamara on the amendment. Counselor?
2020 to 2026?
Yes.
What did I
Yes.
say?
You said 2022.
Oh, sorry. 2020 through 2026. Hearing no further, is there a discussion on the amendment?
No.
Hearing none, is there a motion to adopt as amended as appropriate?
Motion to adopt as amended.
Motion to adopt as amended has been made by Counselor Pereira, seconded by Counselor Kamara. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 29 are citations for the Fall River Fire Department, Emergency Medical Services Department, Police Department, and Emergency
Motion
Management
to adopt.
Agency.
Second.
In response to the July 13, 2025 Gabriel House Assisted Living Residences Fire Response.
Motion to adopt has been made by Counselor Hart, seconded by Counselor Peckham. Is there discussion on the adoption? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 30 is a citation for the Matthew J. Cuss Middle School Boys Basketball Team for winning the 2026 Boys Middle School Basketball City
Motion to
Championship.
adopt.
Is there a
Seconded.
motion to adopt has been made by Counselor Reposo, seconded by Counselor Hart. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 31 is a citation for the James Madison Morton Middle School Girls Basketball Team for winning the Girls Middle School Basketball Championship for the 10th year in a row in the
Motion to
city of
adopt.
Fall River.
Motion to adopt has been made by Counselor Hart, seconded by Counselor Reposo. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 32 is a citation for Brian Bishop for donating electrical services and materials and for his community outreach.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt has been
Second.
made by Counselor Hart, seconded by Counselor Peckham. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
The next item, item 33, is for Greg's Saturday Kitchen for 40 years of service to the residents of Fall River.
Motion to adopt.
Seconded.
Motion to adopt Greg's Saturday Kitchen has been made by Counselor Reposo, seconded by Counselor Hart. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
34 is a citation for Matt Medeiros for the development of the plowed application during the blizzard of 2026.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt the citation has been made by Counselor Reposo, seconded by Counselor Canuel. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 35 is the scheduling of a hearing for March 24th for the acceptance of Draper Street, extending southerly from Globe Mills to Terminus and northerly from Globe Mills Avenue to Terminus.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to
Seconded.
adopt has been made by Counselor Reposo,
Second.
seconded by Counselor Hart. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 36 is an order for the auto repair shop license renewals for several businesses in the city.
Want to just
Motion
read
to
those
adopt.
into the record, Madam Clerk?
These are for Wilson Frank Elias, DBA One Stop Auto Center, Inc., at 697 Pleasant Street, Garcia Automotive at 127 Eastern Avenue, Tony's Towing and Auto Repair at 69 Napoleon Street, and Joe's Gas and Auto Sales at 2608 South.
Motion
to
to
adopt.
adopt has been made by Counselor
Second.
Reposo, seconded by Counselor Peckham. Is there discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 37 is the police chief's report on licenses.
Motion
to
to
adopt.
adopt.
Motion to adopt the
Second.
police chief's report has been made by Counselor Peckham, seconded by Counselor Kadim. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 38 is the number of claims.
Refer to
Motion
Corporation
referred.
Council.
Motion to refer the item to Corporation Council has been made by Counselor Reposo, seconded by Counselor Peckham. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 39 is a communication from the Assistant Corporation Counsel in response to the open meeting law complaint filed by Patrick Higgins for an alleged violation by the City Council for a meeting held January 27th, 2026.
Motion to
Place
accept
on
and place on
file.
Motion to
file.
accept and place on file has been made by Counselor Peckham, seconded by Counselor Reposo. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 40 is a communication from a city resident regarding the parking ticket appeal process.
Motion to refer the Committee on Ordinances.
Motion to refer the item to the Committee on Ordinances has been made by Counselor Reposo,
Seconded.
seconded by Counselor Hart. Discussion. Counselor in seat 8, Counselor Reposo.
Yeah, I've received a few of these emails, and I think it's worth the point that the resident brings up regarding ordinances. So as the chair, I would like to look into this a little more, even if it's just a discussion about our adoption of ordinances related to this issue. I yield.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, if you could just please make sure that we reach out to the individual who has reached out to us on more than one occasion, letting them know the results of this meeting tonight, and get their correct information so our chairman could invite this individual to that meeting. Motion to adopt has been made and seconded. Hearing no further discussions. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 41 is a drain layer license for Communications Construction Group LLC.
Motion to approve.
Motion to
Second.
approve has been made by Counselor Reposo, seconded by Counselor Peckham. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Motion to take 42 through 46 together.
Seconded.
Motion to take items 42 through 46 after reading together has been made by Counselor Reposo, seconded by Counselor Hart. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Madam Clerk.
Community Preservation Committee minutes for meetings held January 8th, January 9th, January 14th, and February 9th, 2026. We also have Planning Board minutes for December 10th, 2025. Zoning Board of Appeals minutes for January 15th, 2026. And Committee on Finance minutes for February 10th, 2026. Regular meeting of the City Council held on the same day.
Motion to approve.
Motion to
Seconded.
approve and accept and place on file has been made by Counselor Reposo,
Seconded.
seconded by Counselor Hart. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 47 is a notice of casualty and loss at 171 O'Grady Street.
Motion to accept and place on file.
Motion to accept and place on file has been made by Counselor Peckham, seconded by Counselor Reposo. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
And the Committee on Finance, at a meeting held on March 10th, 2026, voted unanimously to recommend that the attached financial order be referred to the full council for action. This is the $750,000 from the opioid stabilization fund to the opioid settlement revolving fund.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt has been made by Counselor Reposo,
Second.
seconded by Counselor Peckham. Is there discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
That's all we have, Mr. President.
Motion
Just
to adjourn.
before we
Second.
adjourn, I just want to thank our colleagues. It's been a long evening tonight. We didn't have our meeting 2 weeks ago because of the blizzard. We went through almost 50 items tonight, so I appreciate everybody's attentiveness and having a great meeting. Motion to adjourn has been made by Counselor Reposo,
Second.
seconded by Counselor Kadim. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Have a good night.
The ayes have it.